We are not off to a good start this Friday morning. You guys got us now on the feed? Can you hear us on the radio, I wonder? Because if not, I'm just going to go back to bed. Anybody? You guys hear us? Nothing? Good? Okay, there it is. Okay, yeah. All right, let's get our heads right on a Friday.
Let's just start over.
There we go.
All right. 3, 2, and 1.
Okay, welcome in live from Padres Fantasy Camp. It's Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl. He's our executive producer. And Benjamin R. Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor, joins us as well. Good morning, Benjamin.
Good morning.
It's good to see you.
It sounds like a terrific start to the program today. You're such a go-with-the-flow kind of guy.
You know me. You know
you
me.
Your rules. You hear Barry White. You lost it.
Yep.
Someone said they couldn't hear the audio. You lose it. You have to start all over again.
Well, I mean, I think, audio is a big part of this job. And if there's no audio, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to plow forward until we get it fixed.
I think you should always plow forward under every circumstance all the time.
I know you do. And as long as we're giving advice in here this morning, I've got some advice. I've got some words of wisdom.
Woods of wisdom.
It's an old bit we used to do. I do not want to do it again, so don't get any ideas. If Tim Flannery walks up to you and hands you a cookie, don't eat it. Do not eat it.
Did it have nuts in it? Are you allergic?
I'm not allergic to nuts. If Tim Flannery places just a little heart-shaped
wasn't one of those sugar-free ones, right? Those are terrible.
It was not gluten-free. But if he hands you a cookie and he puts it on your knee and says, "There you go, buddy, eat that." My advice to you is don't eat it. Do not eat that cookie. Okay? Now, you will feel no pain. You will feel no pain. You will also be back in your Airbnb under the covers at 5:30 p.m. and you will never leave your room. You won't even eat dinner last night. I didn't pack. I didn't do one single thing. Why? Because I was incapacitated.
I got back from the golf course. I went and played yesterday afternoon again, and the door was locked at the Airbnb.
Yeah.
Deadbolted, so I couldn't get in with the combination and had to call and text. Finally, I called and woke you up, and you came and let me in.
What
but
time
you were already
5:30.
It was probably like 5:30. Yeah,
I was in the shower.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Paulie was in the shower, so he didn't see me, knocking and trying to get in. So I called Woods, woke him up. He came down, let me in, and you were like dead out at 5:30.
I'll just say this. I was fine for about 30 minutes, and I sat there. I was like, all right, okay, this is very low key. And it's nice, you've been playing hard. And when he handed it to me, I go, Flan, I can't. I'm not. And he goes, oh, don't worry. He goes, this is more CBD than THC. The CBD. I have CBD cream that I use, and it's great. It works well. It's just mostly CBD. So it's going to give you, little healing remedy, buddy. 30 minutes in, they go up and they start playing a concert in there. And I'm sitting there going, oh, no, this isn't right. And they played, and they played, and they played, and they played for an hour. Paul, you can post the picture.
I'm not going to show
just show
picture.
Ben?
I'm going to show Ben. I'm not going to post that picture.
Look at me.
I don't want to.
You guys, I texted Hannah, and I go, Flan just gave me a cookie. She goes, prayers.
Did he get these from like Willie Nelson, or they're
probably
held over from Jerry Garcia's
probably
stash?
So he was talking when he
told that story.
He was telling the story that he was on the bus playing with Willie, and and he smoked with Willie and all
Him
that.
and Jake Peavy played on stage with Willie Nelson,
and then went to his bus. And so they're up there playing a show, Ben. And listen, I mean, tolerance-wise for me, I don't have it. I do not have it. And so
I don't think we told the audience what was going on yesterday. So Jake Peavy and Tim Flannery, Tim Flannery has a band. He was telling us yesterday on the show that they play the Fillmore. Like
they played the Fillmore.
Incredible venues. Yeah. And so they set up their amps and guitars, and Tim had a member of his band cruise out here to the complex, and they put on a concert for all the campers in the Padres clubhouse.
With amps and mics.
Hour and a half. I mean, Jake Peavy showed up about 3 songs in, let Tim kind of open it up, and then they just jammed for like an hour and a half. And if you weren't feeling like Woods was feeling, it was awesome.
I mean, it was awesome, It was awesome. Don't get me wrong. And when PB came up, they started playing. They played Friends in Low Places. They played Poncho and Lefty by Townes Van Zandt, and man, it sounded so beautiful, and the harmonies that they had, it was great. They're just uber talented people. But I just was sitting there going, I just got paranoid, man. And I ate 3 Rice Krispie treats. And I was like, I got to get out of here.
When it wrapped up, I go, wow, that was awesome. And Woods just goes, that was the worst night of my life.
I got to get out of here, Paulie. You got to get me out of here, get me home. And I got in. Like I said, I went back to Airbnb. I just crawled under the covers. And I panicked, man. I woke up this morning and I go, you haven't packed your suitcase. You have done, nothing. Like I panicked. So I woke up and got all my business taken care of.
It's interesting. And I've kind of found over the years that they're not all like Flan, but a lot of professional athletes are just good at whatever they do. They're good at their sport. They're good at other sports, golf. When they pick up music, they end up doing that well. They're just talented people. Then there are professional athletes who are just savants at the one thing. They're baseball players. Don't ask them to tie their shoes outside of playing baseball. But at baseball, they know everything about it. They can do it as, well or better than anyone on the planet. And they both work and they coexist in locker rooms and in other sports as well. I've noticed that this tends to be true. You get to be a professional by either being like a super talented person who then focuses in on something, or someone who just is so good at that one thing, and that's all you want to do all the time.
Well, to hear their connection, Flannery and Peavy, and when Peavy was a Giant, he wasn't a guitar player. I mean, Flan taught him basically.
No, that was Padres. His rookie year.
Oh, rookie year. Yep.
02 with the Padres. He said,
I don't remember. I was high as a kite, so I don't know. You fill it in.
He noticed that Flan had this guitar in his locker, and he was kind of looking at it like, man, that's cool. Like, man,
I'd love to.
I wish I could do that. And a week or two goes by, and they're getting ready to go on the road, his first big road trip as a big leaguer. And there was a guitar sitting in his locker when he got to the ballpark that day.
Flan came
up and told him, he goes, if you can figure out how to tune it, which I assume
little test
is a test to see how serious you are.
Yeah.
He goes, if you can figure out how to tune that, I will teach you how to really play.
Yeah, and he did.
And they did that
morning
the rest of their careers.
And they spent a lot of time together in the hotel room, just playing and playing and playing. And then Flan said when he was in San Francisco, he goes, yeah, I'd leave, and I knew there'd be a party at Peavy's penthouse, and I'd walk up in there. And sure enough, there's members from the Grateful Dead, and there's music. There's a tattoo artist in there doing tattoos. He goes, it just blows your mind to hear that how their lifestyle was. But music was a really big part of it. And to watch them up there playing yesterday was pretty special from what I remember.
So I did not have any chance of dragging you out to dinner with me. You
Zero.
Didn't eat it all.
I did not even eat dinner.
Yeah, I went and dined by myself. Is that weird to go out to a restaurant and just sit?
Oh, it's beautiful.
By yourself. I went to an Italian place about a mile away from our Airbnb.
Yeah, it was called Explicit, and they have a meatball special on.
Actually, worse, it was called Fabio on Fire, but it was really good.
A male strip.
It sounds like it,
good.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
It sounds very much like a male review club, but it was an Italian restaurant. It was really good. They had like a pizza counter where the pizza oven was, and I just sat by myself. And I always wonder if is it weird or not weird to dine out? Should you just do takeout if you're by yourself? Or
no, the older I get, the less I care.
Yeah.
And I used to get really, really paranoid about that.
Did you sit at a table by yourself or sit at the bar?
It was the pizza counter, so it was more like a bar setting. It was like a high top.
Table is a little uncomfortable.
I was the only one there. There wasn't like a bartender, though. There was a pizza chef who was kind of behind some glass. So I could watch him work, but there was no one like coming up and chatting with me other than my server. So I was sitting there, and I had, I tried to make it a nice dinner. I had a glass of red wine, and then I ordered a caprese salad and a lobster ravioli. It was all really good. Don't worry, Adam. I'm not going to expense that one. That was just for me.
Very sensual.
It was.
Sensual experience. 2 back-to-back sensual nights for our beloved. I like how you go.
Delicious pink sauce. It was a good meal. We could go back next time when we come back for spring training if you want a good Italian dinner. Fabio on Fire.
I really like how you've used this trip for a lot of self-care. A lot of golf, fell in love just for a moment, and then went to a really luxurious and sensuous dinner.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Arizona. It's still in a strip mall because
That's fine.
everything here is in a strip mall. But it was good. I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for somewhere in what is a generally kind of restaurant wasteland, unless you love chain restaurants out here. This was not, and it was pretty good.
I love the chains, man. I really do.
They have good ones here for sure.
They do. I mean, there's
they have
everything you can choose from out here in Peoria, Arizona. But man, we've had such a fun week, such a busy week. It's kind of nonstop when we're out here. I'm definitely ready to get home. I definitely miss my wife and kids terribly. I cannot wait to see them when I get home today. I know Mrs. Reindl is champing at the bit to get her little angel back. So I love that you were out here, Benny. I hope you'll come out with us every year. It's been awesome.
Yeah,
it's just been so much fun to be here and talk to all these guys. I've made so many new friends out here. It's just been incredible.
And we still haven't talked to everybody. We're going to try to hit as many of the remaining camp coaches as possible, including coming up here this hour. Dave Dravecky is going to join us.
Holy smokes.
I don't know that we've never had Dave on. I don't know that he's ever been on our radio station before.
I don't think so.
You may think you kind of know his story, but until you hear him tell his story about this cancer and his recovery, and then, of course, breaking his arm on the mound and what happened.
I'll never forget it.
It's pretty incredible, and he's such a great guy. I didn't realize he's just a terrific guy.
He is a guy, Ben, that if you spend some time with, you look at him and you go, I need to be more like him. You do. And when you hear him talk about his family and his grandkids, you think to yourself, okay, get more of that spirit in you, when he talks. Isn't that right, Paulie?
Oh,
He's just, you look at him and go, I need to be more like that, with my family. And I can't wait till you guys hear his story. He is a phenomenal human being. Dominic says he's not ready for tears this morning. You may want to
tearjerker.
You may want to come back to it then, because it's just motivational and it's inspirational.
We kind of planned it for Friday because we wanted to just start the weekend off with a real motivational. It's sad, but it's more motivational than sad.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, when you hear him, he's not sad.
No.
He's not sad
and
at all.
If he's not sad, you shouldn't be sad.
That's exactly right. He's just a very, very kind guy. And all of these guys have been so kind. And, except for TK. They've all been, and maybe Goose Gossage. The rest of them have just been absolutely fantastic. So.
All right, so we've got Dave coming up. We'll set the table. Rest of the show should be a good final day here in Peoria, Arizona. Paulie's going to leave a little bit early to go play. You've got your game at the end, and then we're all heading back.
It's going to be
San
weird.
Diego.
If my game goes quickly,
Woods is
I
next.
could
come
be
back.
back for the end of the show as Woods has to leave. I don't know. We're going to just
guess
play
who's sitting here the entire 4 hours. Let's take one guess as to who's going to be here the whole time.
Well, listen, you know what? That's why we got you all those lap dances.
You know what?
So we knew that you wouldn't be.
We've also got Frank, who's going to be here the whole time. Good morning to our Italian Paul producer back in the studios as well.
I completely bricked yesterday on doing the intros, and I completely bricked again today. Frankie Marchese is amazing, and you have absolutely crushed it this week, Frankie. Thank you for all that you've done. You've been incredible. I'm sorry I had to get to the Gentleman's Club story yesterday. And I do apologize. You have crushed it.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say yesterday was, oh, no, there's no time for me. We need stories. We need them now.
Don't waste a breath.
Frankie, are you going to sleep the whole weekend after having to get up all this week with us, a little outside of your normal schedule?
God, yes.
Yes, he's ready to go. All right. We got 3 hours and 45 more minutes, Frank, and then you are done. Let's check traffic. We'll come back more from Padres Fantasy Camp in Peoria, Arizona. It's Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station. On a Friday, we are 97.3 The Fan. I actually have a little breaking college football news this morning, and it's got a local bent, so you know I love that.
Yeah.
Julian Sayin, who is the top quarterback recruit from the class of 2024, so the kids who are graduating here in a couple of months from high school, from Carlsbad High School, was the top recruit at Alabama, was going to go play for Nick Saban.
Sure.
Now, he's already there. He did what a lot of high school seniors now do and enrolled early in college so he could get there for spring workouts. The day he started classes at Alabama, Nick Saban announced his retirement. He is Julian Sayin now has announced that he is entering the transfer portal and is reopening his recruiting, which was pretty widespread the first time around. LSU, Ohio State, Texas, they were all after him. And he said, I went to play for Coach Saban at Alabama, and now that he's not going to be there, I want to see what else is available. Now, I don't know if that means there's no chance he'll come back to Alabama, or you could change your mind and stay and decide, no, I've decided to stay if Kalen DeBoer kind of jumps into the re-recruiting of Julian Sayin. But he was
he could. Isn't he bringing his guy that was right under
the
Penix?
receiver as well? Yeah,
there's a receiver coming, but I don't know quarterback. I don't know what he's his quarterback was coming too, right? Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's tough, man. It's a tough thing for that kid, right? I mean, we talked about this before the show. Ben said, and he was more playing devil's advocate, I think. But Ben said, well, when you go to a school, don't you go to a school? And I said, yeah,
or at least a program.
A program. Yeah. When you go to a program, don't you go to a program? And I said, I don't know, man. I think there's going to be kids out there that said, I've dreamed of playing for Alabama my entire life. I don't care who's the head coach. And then there are kids that are like, I wanted to play for him and him alone. And now that he's gone, I need to go find, the next guy I want to play for.
It's not as though they hired some nobody as coach.
That's
and you
true.
think, well, there goes Alabama football. I mean, do any of us think that Alabama is not still going to be a powerhouse?
They were talking about this on
football.
the show that's on before us. They were talking about this yesterday. And they said there's no guarantee that Kalen DeBoer is going to come in and win. It could take a while. And they asked the question, does he have a while? I don't know what his deal was, how many years it was. But do you think that the people in Alabama are going to go, it's fine. If you win, you're just getting on your feet here, bro.
That's
2-3 losses is fine.
We were talking about it on the drive out here to Arizona when all that news came down that DeBoer was leaving Washington, taking the Alabama job. You don't want to be the guy that replaces Nick Saban.
No.
You want to be the guy that replaces the guy.
Kalen DeBoer. Yes, that's who you want to be. But I don't know, man. But this kid's going to have a bright future anywhere he goes. Listen, I don't know. I can't sit here in all honesty and certainty and say, I couldn't do that, man. Once I committed, I would be there and I would go. I can't say with 100% certainty I would do that, especially if I was an 18-year-old kid and had my sights set on playing for Nick Saban. I could see how he's pretty disappointed.
But now you're going to have to play for someone else.
Yeah.
There is no Nick Saban to play
There's
for
no
anymore.
Nick Saban to play for.
So we'll see where that new open recruitment heads in a new direction at this point.
Well, and that's the thing. You saw a bunch of people upset at people getting really upset lately about all these kids transferring and going to the portal. And then you see Kalen DeBoer pack up and leave. And you see these guys pack up and leave at the drop of a hat. Like it's nobody's business, like there's no problem. It's fine for them. It's not fine for them. I'll never understand that.
The hypocrisy has always been high from the coaches
massively.
who will leave for a huge payday and another job. But
in a heartbeat.
I wish these kids would be a little more dedicated to the commitment of the school that they chose.
That's exactly right.
And then there's the athletic directors who fire coaches, because they had one bad season.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some hypocrisy going on.
There's definitely hypocrisy.
And I'm not criticizing Julian Sayin.
Oh, me neither.
I just still think Alabama is going to end up being a pretty good place to be.
I think the program will still survive, but what if it does take, a couple of years to get it back? It's going to be, look, now it feels like an even playing field, for the first time ever with Nick Saban being out. So we'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, man, it's the transfer portal certainly is weird, but you can either embrace it or fight against it. I don't think it's going anywhere.
So Dave Dravecky is going to join us here at the bottom of the hour. Of course, he was part of the 1984 Padres team that won the National League pennant and went to the World Series. Later was traded to the San Francisco Giants and was diagnosed with cancer. in his pitching arm.
Yeah.
He's going to give you some of the details of what happened, but the nutshell story is he had surgery. He tried to come back, came up through the minor leagues, returned to the big league mound, and on that big league mound, and I remember I was watching.
I was too.
You were
I will
watching.
never
that
forget
day.
it.
He was pitching well. He was looking like he was back. It was an incredible comeback story. One of the great sports comeback stories you'll ever see.
Yeah.
And then just the horrific moment.
Horrific.
We all heard it.
Heard it.
The snapping of the humerus bone, right? In his arm.
You think about when we were coming up, Joe Theismann, Dave Dravecky.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that you remember. They'll never leave your mind. They're imprinted on your soul because that's what
the cancer weakened his arm so much that simply throwing the baseball.
And then they had to take out 80% of his deltoid muscle right here. I think that's your delt.
How do you even come back from that?
I don't know.
To me, that's the even more
He'll tell
remarkable
you
part.
He'll tell you how he threw when he was coming back too.
Yeah.
It was remarkable.
Well, and then the after effects of, hey, we have to cut your arm and shoulder off, man. And how did that go? How was he towards his family after that? That's what really touched me yesterday. And I can't wait for you guys to hear him. He's just
a gem of a human.
You just want to hug him every time you see him.
All right, so we will do that when we come back. Dave Dravecky from the 1984 Padres will be with us here at Fantasy Camp. Do not go away. It's Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. It's Ben and Woods, our live broadcast from Padres Fantasy Camp, are brought to you by your San Diego County Toyota dealers. We make it easy. Going to chat with Dave Dravecky from the 1984 Padres right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the
Our next guest made his debut for the Padres in 1982 after coming up in the minor leagues and played a critical role for the 1984 pennant-winning team, pitching both in the starting rotation, out of the bullpen. He is one of the coaches here at Fantasy Camp, and if you don't know his story, and you're not a longtime Padres baseball fan, it's certainly one of the more remarkable, sad, but ultimately, I think, inspirational stories in baseball. Dave Dravecky is with us. Dave, it's good to finally have you on here on 97.3 The Fan.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It's our pleasure. The first interaction I had with Dave was we were down around the bullpen, and they had asked some pitchers to, go and see what you had. So I was throwing a little bit, and I sat down after I was done and just started listening in on some stories. And it was Dave, and you were talking to Mud Grant, and you were talking about the trade.
Yeah.
When you got traded to the Giants from the Padres. Tell everybody what that was like that day when they called you in, and tell everybody who was with you and what happened.
Yeah, well, so we were in Montreal, and we had just finished a game in Montreal. We were all coming into the clubhouse and, getting ready to shower up and head back to the hotel. And all of a sudden, one of the clubbies comes up to us and says,
and it was you?
It was me, Kevin Mitchell, and Craig Lefferts. They said, hey, Larry Boa wants to see you immediately in his office. And we're like, oh, man, what the heck's going on? So we go into the office and we just stand there. And he goes, look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. We've traded you guys to the San Francisco Giants. And it was total silence in the room. So we walk out. Everybody goes to their locker, gets ready. We gather up all our gear. And the three of us are now heading back to the hotel. And Kevin looks at me and Lefty and says, I ain't going. I said, Boogie. We called him Boogie Bear.
Yeah.
He said, Boogie, you got to go. We've made this trade. You can't say no. You have to go. Well, then I'm done. He was so upset because San Diego's his home.
Yeah.
And he was with the Mets, and all of a sudden now he is, he's with the Padres and he's home. And that was such a big deal for him to be home. And it took Lefty and I, not only that night, but the next morning, making sure he was up and with us to get in the cab. And I got to tell you something, guys. It ain't very easy trying to convince Kevin Mitchell to get in a cab to go to Chicago with you to join another team.
Oh, man.
So as a young Padres fan, I remember being very sad about this trade because I love Dave from the 1984 team. I had become a big Kevin Mitchell fan as well. And as it turned out, they got Chris Brown. I was never as big of a fan of Chris Brown when he came. But it wasn't the worst trade on earth because the Padres did get a Cy Young Award winner. Mark Davis ended up winning the Cy Young. And a guy who stuck around for a while that came in that trade, Mark Mud Grant, came to the Padres via that trade as well. And we can't get rid of him now. He's here.
And hey, now let's not eliminate the fourth guy in that trade. Keith Comstock, another lefty. So lefties have to stay together.
That's exactly
Even though
right.
mine's gone, I'm still a lefty. Once a lefty, always a lefty.
And this is him.
It's more of a state of mind.
It's a state of mind. Yes, it is.
This guy.
Although I got to tell you, after being around these guys at the camp, my state of mind is actually like comatose compared to these guys. Holy smokes!
It's unbelievable. He tells us that it's the first game, and he goes, "We're sitting there," and he goes, man, I wish I had two arms, and I just fell over. I'm like, oh my God. So the story, and I know you shared some of it yesterday, and we've told our audience a little bit of the backstory.
Well, we tried to share it on Wednesday night and then we got interrupted, unfortunately, but he did finish the story yesterday for the campers.
And the thing that touched me the most about it was when the doctors came to you, Dave, and they said, your arm and your shoulder, they have to go.
Yeah.
Your state of mind at that point.
Yeah. It was really interesting because I knew what I was up against. I mean, reality hits. The doctors look at you and they tell you have cancer. And in that moment, what I didn't get a chance to share with the guys was that all of a sudden I kind of had a out-of-body experience. And now all of a sudden I'm thinking about not baseball, but I'm thinking about my wife. I'm thinking about my kids. And the first thing that came to my mind in that out-of-body experience was, oh my gosh, if I die from this disease, who's going to marry my wife?
Right.
And then the next question was, is that guy going to end up raising my children? And I thought, oh my gosh, this is not good. And then I thought, well, will he love them as much as I do?
Yeah.
My kids and wife as much as I do. But guys, here's the thought that came to my mind in that moment. Will he love them more? Because I know who I am. Because I shared that part of the story with you guys at the camp.
That's the one that touched me the most. Is when you told me. Well, tell them how it had been.
Yeah, it was hard. The depression, it was like being on a roller coaster, and towards the end of the journey before the amputation, I started getting really angry. And then after the amputation, it got worse and I became verbally abusive. And I'm really grateful for the grace that my wife had for me through that. She kept looking at me and she goes, you know what? I don't like you right now.
Yeah. But
she said, I know your heart and this is not you. And so she stuck with me through all of that, which I'm so grateful for. But here's what happened in that moment. I had two choices. I could either walk away from the game and focus on the health, or I could focus on the health. And if they give me the go ahead, try and come back. Well, I had no choice. I had to try and come back.
Sure.
How was that even possible? You said that you had no choice. They removed, you said, what percent of your muscle?
50% of the deltoid muscle. And the doctors told me I lost 95% use of that muscle.
So knowing how finely tuned you have to be a professional athlete, especially a pitcher, how was that even possible?
Yeah.
That you came back?
Larry Brown and Dick Dent. Dick Dent was the trainer. Larry Brown was the physical therapist at the Palo Alto Sports Clinic. And he is one of the top two guys that was invited to Australia, which is one of the leading countries in the world with physical therapy. And so I had those two guys take care of me. They figured out how to get all the other stuff in my shoulder to fire when there was no longer a deltoid muscle. So I got to tell you, man, that's why what I said yesterday to the guys, we really do need each other.
Yeah.
This was an effort by so many people to help me get back to the mound. And I'm so grateful for that.
Talking to Dave Dravecky here on Ben and Woods this morning, mental health is something that we've talked about a lot on our show. I suffer from depression. I go to a therapist. When you talked about bringing people in, tell that again, just how much we need people.
Yeah.
And how easy it is to shut yourself in a room and not talk to anybody.
Yeah. Isolation is the worst thing you can do because when you find yourself in darkness, you need some people to help bring you to the light. And in my process, it was recognizing now I can look back and I can say with all my heart emphatically that it actually works. You become vulnerable and you expose yourself to people you trust on the journey, especially when you're in those dark moments. And that's where you begin to understand where the help comes from. And from my perspective, God brought a boatload of people into my story to walk with me, to give me the strength to endure. It was those moments when I was, visiting Memphis, Tennessee at a speaking appearance. I had no business being there because I was depressed. And Atlee Hammaker shows up for 3 days and sits with me, doesn't say a word, just shows up. It's that kind of stuff. And so I told the campers, that's what you are to each other. You're a community and you need each other.
It's interesting when you say you had so many people on your journey, and we were watching when you came back and your arm broke in the big leagues. How different do you think it might have been if your arm had broken warming up for one of your minor league starts before you got up? No one had seen it. We maybe would have read about it in the paper. A little bit different of a journey, maybe.
Oh, so different. That's why I look back on this and I don't want to freak people out when I say this, but I believe the providence of God was at play. I believe that in my story, because of my faith journey with him and the people that he brought into that story, as I said to the campers, there's something bigger going on than baseball. Guys, I didn't get a chance to talk about what that really was, but when we got to the other side, I realized what it was. And that was in this conversation, in the context of this conversation, it was about realizing it was no longer about what I was going to get out of life, but what I was going to give.
Bam.
And so my wife and I started a nonprofit called Endurance. And for your audience, anybody who's out there listening, if you're battling with cancer, if you're struggling with depression, go to endurance.org. We will send our story to you as an encouragement on your journey. Get connected with people that love you and care for you, and let them into your story. If you need help, get to a psychologist, get to a psychiatrist. They're there to help. And this is something that we don't need to hide anymore. You know, we live in a world where we are driven to the point where we do things we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And the reason why we do is because we feel the pressure from the outside. It's okay to say no. One of the most important words I've learned through this process is don't be afraid to say no, because for every no that you say no to, there's a yes to somebody else. And it's usually somebody else that you're saying yes to. And that person is the most important person in that moment. And so reaching out and getting the help you need, understanding the value of community, the support that we get when we're vulnerable. When you're vulnerable, you invite people in and you can begin to journey, and they can walk with you to encourage you on the journey. They're not there to fix you. Anybody that tries to fix you, tell them to take a hike.
Yeah.
They're there to walk with you.
That's so powerful. So powerful. Dave Dravecky joins us here on Ben and Woods this morning. Very, very inspirational, very moving, and hits home. It's home for a lot of people in our audience. Dave, let's switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
How much do you watch baseball these days? How involved are you in the game as it stands today?
Yeah, I love watching baseball. I've got my subscription to the MLB network, and I really enjoy watching the game. I work for the Giants as an ambassador.
Yep.
And so I need to stay connected to the game when I'm around the fans to be able to understand what the conversation's going to be like. And so, I'm engaged at a very healthy point
Yeah.
to be able to actually enjoy not only the game itself, but to enjoy the fans. I never walked away from the game bitter or angry that something was taken away from me. I never thought I'd have the opportunity to play as a young kid from Youngstown, Ohio. How's he going to get to the big leagues? So the first day I put that uniform on, my dream came true. Every day after that was icing on the cake. So it was a privilege and an honor to wear the Padre uniform and to wear the Giants uniform, because I had so much respect for this game.
I'm curious. Obviously, it's been 40 years now since 1984 and 35 years since the end of your career. Probably a lot more people who don't know who Dave Dravecky is than do. When someone comes up to you, do they generally ask what happened? Is it awkward? Well, how does that work?
Well, let me put it this way. If they don't ask, I tell them.
Okay.
But when they do ask, I'm really grateful, because then I get to tell them.
Yeah.
I have no problem talking about my journey. I have no problem talking about being vulnerable and talking about the hard things, because I learned so much through it that has transformed my life that I wouldn't want it any other way.
And just by the way, people know there are other fantasy campers here participating in the camp who have artificial limbs or missing part of an arm, and they're out here having a great time playing baseball like everybody else.
The guy Josh, the Paralympian, who's a gold medal winner, he's one of the tougher. I don't think I've ever gotten him out when I'm on the mound, and he's
hits, a dude, man.
He hits with one arm.
Yeah,
and
he's amazing.
It's incredible to see. And it puts, people that complain a lot, like myself, it puts us in perspective.
We have to get up very early in the morning.
You don't really have to get up,
Dave.
I can only
you should
imagine.
feel sorry for us, because we have to get up very early in the morning.
Yeah. It's been so fun getting to know you here. I was traded from your squad. We got our revenge yesterday.
I know you did.
It was fun.
You sure did.
It was fun.
You're probably chuckling under your breath every step of the way.
Say you don't think TK likes you, but you didn't have.
Oh, Dave and I bonded.
We're good.
Dave came up. He came up to me after I was traded, and he came down to my ear and he goes, "I loved your intensity. I loved your intensity." And I said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you."
Absolutely.
It has been such a pleasure to get to know you. Honored to know you. I was so excited when I heard you were coming, because again, that is a moment, the moment that we all saw, the moment that has changed your life entirely and has allowed you to help so many people. I'll never forget it. I mean, I was 14 years old when it happened, and I remember seeing it and going, "Oh no, 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 no," you know, and to be able to see you all these years later, and to see the smile on your face, and to see how kind you are to all the campers, it's just been amazing. You're an incredible man.
Thank you,
an
Woodsy.
incredible man.
I appreciate you saying that.
Now, you and Paul are going out for your game right now. This is the fifth place championship game. Go out, win that one, and then you can tell everybody we got fifth place.
Fifth is better than sixth.
I don't know how much ice Paulie's got on him. I don't know how many suction cups he had on him.
He's been throwing good.
I don't know how many
wearing
rolfing experiences he's had. But he needs to get ready to go today because we need the gamer to kick it in gear.
He's got a bomb wrapped. Look, it's a bomb. That's an actual bomb wrapped around it. That's how bad he wants to win today.
I love it, man. We're going for it. We got to kick it in gear. We got to pick it up a notch.
That is amazing. Just a little message here in the chat from Doreen. Doreen says, "You're my favorite player of all time. I had the chance to meet you many years ago in San Diego during a real estate transaction with Ted Leitner, and we took a picture. Amazing." So
awesome.
The reviews are in on the chat. Everyone said this was their favorite interview of the week, Dave. The great Dave Dravecky.
Did you buy Ted Leitner's house or sell him a house?
No, I did not buy Ted Leitner's house. But I've had several walks with Ted Leitner and talks with Ted Leitner. I really like him. He's a good dude.
Teddy.
You know, I want to say one thing. The Padres fans were so gracious to us. I know we were up in San Francisco at the time when it happened, but many of the Padres fans connected with us and said that they were praying for us, and we're just so grateful for that. We love the community. We love the fans of that community, and we're just really grateful for the relationships we have.
I know there's a division rivalry, but I feel like guys like you and Flan and Boch, they really have two families now with the Giants and the Padres.
Yeah, no question. Yep, definitely two families.
And we all hate the Dodgers, so we're all kind of together.
We're all together on that one.
Right. We are all together.
Absolutely.
The great Dave Dravecky. Thank you so much. Go get your squad ready.
You got it,
and
man.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you.
I have to say that probably my favorite camper that I got to meet. I had met many of the former Padres over the years doing this job, but I have never had a chance to meet Dave Dravecky before, and this was a real treat. And hopefully everybody listening back at home on our YouTube stream
enjoyed it.
Really enjoyed that, because I certainly did.
I did too. He's a great man and hysterical and funny, and the voice again, real soothing. Soothing voice, and very polished guy, very, very polished guy. And he is actually a motivational speaker as well. So if you ever get a chance to go see him talk, it's mind blowing.
It's almost hard to imagine him going through depression. I mean, it's easy knowing what he was going through and how difficult that must have been. But you see his attitude right now, and you go, if a guy like that can struggle, there's really no shame in any of us struggling at any point in our life.
There's kind of an aura about him, you know. And the first time I met him out there was an aura. It's an aura of positivity, and you see it around him, and you see it when we played for him, Paulie, and you still play for him. Just a positive guy, man. And the world that has thrown him so many terrible curveballs, and he's just like, all right, whatever's next, I can handle. Just a really good.
The fact that for me, I love humor.
Yeah,
his sense of humor is unbelievable.
It's just incredible.
The way that he can laugh about his situation. I mean, I go back to before me and my wife ever met. We were texting, and she was making dead dad jokes, and I'm like, I am so uncomfortable right now.
Yeah, Hannah too.
And day one, Terry Kennedy goes out to the mound. He's coaching first, and he goes, "Dave, you coach third. You know, somebody gets a base hit and somebody's on second base, just wave them in." And he goes, "With what?
With what?" It's like, oh my God. It's just so good. All right, Paulie, so you're taking it to the house.
I will stick around for the next segment.
I believe Tom Seidler is going to be stopping by. He is, Randy's the commissioner, but this is Tom.
This is Tom's baby.
This whole thing. Tom has really shepherded and made it grow and turn this into something really special. So Tom Seidler of the Padres is going to join us when we come back. Do not go anywhere. More Bennett Woods live from Padres Fantasy Camp, Peoria, Arizona, coming up on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Hour number 2, Ben and Woods, final day here at Fantasy Camp. Another week, almost done in a few hours. Everyone going to go their separate ways again until next year. Now, you guys have been here. Well, Fantasy Camp started last Sunday, so this is day 6.
Day 7 for us.
Yeah.
We got here early, came out and hung out, got a little R&R.
It's been a great pleasure to be here for the first time for me this week, to meet people like Dave Dravecky, who I had not met before. We've had some incredible conversations with Padres legends all week long, and I definitely hope that I get to come back again next year, even if I still don't want to actually go out on the field. I've loved this week. A little golf, a little conversation, watch you guys play a little bit, and I have to thank the person who made it possible, who is sitting down with us right now. Tom Seidler from the San Diego Padres is with us. Tom, this has been an amazing week.
It's great to have you here, Ben. Paulie and Woodsy have been regular since we started the thing with 23 players and 2 teams, and you play the same team every day.
Every day.
It's grown to where we have a full Padres clubhouse and 70 players, and now the debate is, do we want to grow a little bit beyond that? So that'll be our decision going into next year.
It is. I look forward to it so much every year. And you were gone yesterday, Benny, and this was a total surprise to us. They called us up with maybe 12 other guys, 10 other guys, and they inducted us into the Fantasy Camp Hall of Fame. And, for me.
This is your first Hall of Fame.
It's my first. And let's be honest.
And who presented you the jacket?
Who did present me the jacket? Was it? Oh, it was Hoffman.
Oh, only our Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Was this post Tim Flannery's cookie? Or
this was post Tim Flannery's cookie that he gave me and told me that it was mostly CBD. It was not mostly CBD. I didn't know what planet I was on when I got inducted. But I asked Ben, I said, so now when I sign an autograph, I get to put HOF 24, like the rest of those guys. And we couldn't do this without you. I wanted to ask you, and I think the audience wants to know, first and foremost, just a horrific few months. How's Peter's family doing right now?
Yeah, they're obviously getting through it, and luckily there's a big Seidler family, so all of us are trying to be extra active, uncles and aunts and cousins, and helping them get through it. But all the things that are said on air about Peter, the things we do in his name. I mean, Flan played that soulful song last night in Peter's honor. And there's a lot of ways that he's being honored and recognized, and that I think gives them a full heart.
We talked to you a few weeks ago, and you said the commitment was still there to bring that parade to San Diego, and the baseball gods smile on us finally. And I know fans have been wondering kind of what's going on, but just kind of your perspective this offseason behind the scenes, any words of reassurance for the San Diego Padres fan base out there?
Oh, I'm excited about the year, the mix of the veterans that are longtime Padres. And we heard Riley Westman yesterday and talking to him offline about the number of high ceiling prospects that are on the way. So I think it's going to be a really fun year. And we're looking forward to it. Again, you could have a disappointing record relative to the talent one year and overachieve the next. And the Diamondbacks with 84 wins got to the big dance last year, and so we're going to chase that this year.
Yeah, there's talking to Tom Seidler here on Ben and Woods this morning. I said it on the show yesterday. Ben had asked me, okay, well, if this guy's available, would you move this prospect or this? And I said, honestly, maybe for the first time in my life, I'm kind of okay standing pat right now based on the World Series winner last year, all their young talent. Now, it's not like they didn't spend money. They spent a ton of money. But they also had guys come up and contribute at the right time. Same with the Diamondbacks. Yeah. And so I honestly said I may have gone 180 on my, prospects are just prospects thing. I kind of want to see what these guys can do based on some of the wonderful remarks I hear from Riley and some of the other guys here talking about those young guys.
Yeah, I think that rejuvenates a fan base to have young Padres drafted and developed players. And obviously we just got another infusion into the system with a top international player signing a few days ago. So I think the future is bright, and taking Peter's hat of optimism, I'm optimistic about this year.
Yeah, I said yesterday, my expectations are still pretty high for this team going into the year. I know there's some people who go, well, they won 82 games last year, and now Juan Soto's gone, and Blake Snell and Josh Hader. they can't win more than that. And I go, that's not how baseball works.
Not how it works.
I'm expecting a really huge season from Fernando Tatis Jr. I know a lot of us are. I think Manny Machado, you can always expect big things. I mean, he's good even when he's not 100% healthy, and hopefully he comes back and has a healthy season. We saw some real good play from Xander Bogaerts when he was healthy, especially at the beginning, at the end of last season as well. That's an unbelievable trio to start any team with that any club would be jealous of.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for having a target on your back. You know, that was probably most firmly on our backs last year, and that shifts to the Dodgers this year.
Big time. Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
The guys up the road have not been afraid to spend money. And as we well know, doesn't guarantee you a damn thing. And I know this year, I think, getting into the playoffs is got to be of utmost importance. Talk a little bit about your experiences with Mike Schultz so far.
Yeah, so Mike's a wonderful guy. I got to work with him a lot last year. His background is both on the minor league side and big league side. And last year he came to me and said, "Hey, what are we doing with our minor league players to get them connected to the community?" And I said, "Well, we work with all the clubs. We give them a stipend to help further their community outreach and ask the players are involved, and they donate money that we provide them, and let the player who's the most active in Fort Wayne and Lake Elsinore and on down the list pick the charity." But Mike said, "Let's take it a step further. Let's mandate that each of the players gets involved in the first half and the second half of the season, one a homeless related cause and one a military related cause, because those two in particular are big issues for the Padres and in San Diego." And with his guidance, we worked with him and all the minor league clubs and did that last year. So I think he's a really thoughtful guy. He cares. He obviously just recently made the rounds and visited a lot of the key players in their hometowns, even in other countries. And I think he's got the knowledge of the clubhouse that the last 3 or 4 hires did not have, coming in from other organizations. So I think he starts hitting the ground running, which is a big advantage.
It was we're talking with Tom Seidler here on Ben and Woods. It was officially announced this week, as expected. The Padres and Dodgers are going to be reporting early before every other team to spring training. In fact, it's Super Bowl Sunday, so 3 weeks from this Sunday. The pitchers and catchers will be here in Peoria, Arizona, officially reporting. So you guys can leave early for that trip to Korea in the middle of March to open up the season with 2 games there against the Los Angeles Dodgers. I don't know how much involvement you have, but what have you heard about what that experience, that trip is going to be like for the organization as a whole?
Yeah, I was just there last week.
Okay.
So a week in Korea, a week in fantasy camp. I have to reintroduce myself to family next week.
Good luck.
But I'd say there's a ton of enthusiasm. The stadium is about the same size as Mexico City was last year, 18,000 thereabouts. But with a dome, it's going to be extremely loud. And Korean fans, like Mexico City fans, are very participatory. They come up with nicknames and songs for each player. And with us having signed Go, now we've got 2 Korean stars. And so it's become a bit of a Korea versus Japan battle, with the Dodgers signing some high marquee Japanese players.
I've heard that's a big rivalry, Korea versus Japan. Yeah.
So I think the fans are going to be really engaged. We play 2 exhibition games as well against KBO teams, and first ever games in Korea. And I'm happy for Ha-Seong Kim that he gets to go, and even Manny and Taddy and the other guys are going to take a backseat to him.
So when those videos, you were there when Ha-Seong Kim and was signing.
I was there the week after. Yeah.
Okay, but I saw those videos where he was like a rock star.
Like Elvis.
When he went back there. I mean,
I was there with Chan Ho Park, who was equally a rock star. I mean, he was the first Korean player to make it in the big leagues, and he is such a special guy. So, having Chan Ho, who's got obviously Dodger roots, but also currently with the Padres and pitched for the Padres. It'll be a special few days for Major League Baseball and the Padres.
So it was obviously, losing your brother. It obviously affects your family a tremendous amount. The fan base, showed up in remembrance of Peter as well. Everybody's talking about Peter. Everybody's talking about his legacy. What can you tell us? And I know, Eric Katsenda was named interim chairman, basically. What is the plan that you can share going forward as far as your family's involvement in the team for forever?
Yeah, well, our family is going to be involved for, generations. That was Peter's hope and his plans. And so I think our family is going to be part of the Padres for many, many years and decades to come. Peter was a 30,000-foot level guy. He hired really good people, and he didn't get in the weeds. He didn't second guess or first guess. He hired good people and set course, and we're all still carrying out that course. So I think from, Eric Grupner's perspective, all of us at Petco, we're going about our work the same way as if Peter were still here. So Peter still runs the organization in many ways. And obviously Eric Katsenda and other family members are getting more involved for now. And I don't think things will change much. We know clearly what his vision was and still is.
So we don't know Eric. We've never talked to Eric.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about him? You paint these mental pictures when you hear you picture them coming and said, all right, man, good luck. This is your, and I'm sure that there were many, many conversations between your brother and Eric Katsenda before your brother passed. What is he like? What is he? Because no one really knows.
Well, he was partners with Peter for 30 years, so they were very like-minded, along with my brother Bob, and they know how Peter thinks, and are carrying on his vision as if it was Peter in the room making the decision. So there's not as much change as people might think when somebody passes and the next guy takes the baton. But Eric's a really thoughtful guy, good family man. And again, a trusted partner of Peter's for 30 years. So we all respect and admire what he's done and now will help to do here with Padres.
It was actually very unusual how open Peter was with everybody, the fans, the media, how approachable he was. That is not generally the case when it comes to professional sports owners, at least in my experience. And yet Peter seemed to had time for everybody, fans, walking the concourse and
walking the streets.
Yeah, I don't know that you can expect that from everybody.
Sure.
It's a tough position, and certainly someone who's just trying to kind of get into all the expectations that go along with it. No one's going to be Peter, and I think everyone has to keep their expectations a little tempered on that, because Peter was one of a kind.
Yeah, no one person has to fill his shoes. A lot of us help fill it, just like with Sheil and the kids. No one person's going to fill Peter's shoes, but if a lot of us uncles and aunts and cousins helps fill the void. So I'm confident that the connection between the Padres and the community that has been built up over the last bunch of years with Peter's guidance will stay strong in the years to come.
Yeah, I think it's important for all of us to remember that as well moving forward. Tom, we can't thank you enough for having us out every year. I think I did threaten if he ever invited another show out there that he would be in trouble. I was under the influence, so I apologize. But we love this so much. We look forward to it so very much every year. Those guys are family in there to us, all the guys, and it's just a really special experience for us. So we thank you very much.
Well, we love it. It's a great way for us to bring Padres history. I mean, there's from the 70s to the 2000s, there's 5 decades of Padres history in there with the alumni. We all love it. And Ben has promised that the icing on the cake of the Padres winning their championship will be Ben playing in the fantasy camp.
Yeah, you don't win a World Series.
I did say that. I did say
that. I will get in uniform. I will be out there.
Well, let's be honest.
Doing my best.
Okay, so radio guys, Paulie and I here, we play every game. We play every inning of every game. Radio guys.
Yeah.
Okay. The 2 TV guys you've invited out here, John Howard and Troy Hirsch, both injured within 2 days. What does that say? What do you think? Radio guys a lot tougher than TV guys, I would say.
You set a high bar for Ben when that time comes.
I cannot.
Can I make it 3 days?
Can you make it for 15 minutes? I just
want to know after everyone's gone, do they fumigate or what do they do to just make sure nothing rubs off?
Especially the hydro room. Where...
Oh my God, that room needs to be stripped down, clean.
So I'm Manny. I'm getting here. I just want to make sure there's no residue left over from these fantasy.
Well, the best part about this week is we've got a mini camp with our top prospects. So you go from one field with a 55-year-old. 2 fields down is the 19-year-old, high ceiling, twitchy.
Yeah, you hear the barrels.
Yeah. And today you're out in the stadium, right?
Stadium.
Stadium for the final games today.
It's a big one. It is a big one.
Well, Tom, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having us out this
guys.
week. It's been a really great time.
Love being on. Great to have you here.
Tom Seidler with the San Diego Padres. Always a pleasure to have him on. We're going to take a little time out. Are we doing Don't Do This today?
No.
Well, okay, Frank, just bang, don't do this. We're going to see if there's any other coaches that are still here. Continue our conversations this morning. Check traffic. Be back with more Bennett Woods right here on 97.3 The Fan. you that Monday morning I'm running a tight ship.
Okay.
Take on Woods will be in its normal time, 7:10. It'll be brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. It only takes 15 minutes. You don't have to get out of your car. For directions and discounts, go to SoCalOilChange.com. That's SoCalOilChange.com. We will have Don't Do This in its slot right now. A couple of stories that make you shake your head. A Do This story at the end. We will get back to everything. I know there are people, parents who drive their kids to school in the morning who miss DD Megan Doo when we're not doing the whole segment, but we just kind of have to be flexible when we're out here at fantasy camp, and it's just a little bit different. I will give you a quick should have done this, though. That's not a segment we do.
You should have done,
but should have done this.
Should do this.
Ken Rosenthal yesterday reported that the Astros right now are interested in signing Josh Hader after they lost Kendall Graveman, who's going to be out for the season in their bullpen. And he happened to also mention that the Astros apparently at the trading deadline last year tried to acquire both Blake Snell and Josh Hader from the San Diego Padres. Now, at the time, I know we clearly were kind of, all right, I wish the Padres just keep them. Let's go, go make that run, start winning some games, get to the playoffs. They're going to need Snell and Hader down the stretch when they do it. Hindsight being 2020, and knowing that the Padres did not make the postseason, an easy should have done this was wonder what they could have gotten from the Astros had they traded Blake Snell and Josh Hader, and obviously still going to lose both of those guys to free agency anyway. But now they're doing it for just nothing.
The life of a couch GM is very, very good. Every move you make is spectacular. You always get the best return for the guys that you were probably going to lose anyway. So, listen, as a couch GM, you absolutely should have pulled the trigger on all of those moves, Ben. We just had Tom Seidler on. I don't know what the mood was around the team last year. I have my ideas. I have my theories. I can't imagine Peter last year would have said, punt, get rid of him and go. He believed very much in this team, and I think a lot of fans did as well, thinking, this team is they just haven't gelled yet. They will gel. My only question, I think I praised it when it happened because I was so nervous about getting rid of bigger prospects for rentals, was if Peter really wanted to go for it last year, and that was kind of the directive, why not go a little bigger at the trade deadline than you did? That one I don't know. We all kind of praised them for buying on the margins then. Okay, cool. Maybe these guys will help because we still believed in that core that they were going to get it done, and they didn't. And again, the life of a couch GM is a very simple one. It's a very easy one, and all your moves are right.
Yeah, I think I talked myself. Yeah, G-Man Choi could be like Eddie Rosario. He could be a great move, just like the Braves.
Oh, we're the new Braves. Here we are. No, it's
didn't work out that way, to be sure. So interesting, though, both Snell and Hader are finding, and we'll see where they'll land somewhere, and they'll get a good chunk of change, whatever their deal is. But neither of them are commanding the kind of offers that they were hoping for on the free agent market. We've already heard a lot of talk about Snell, the Yankees balking at what Scott Boris's asking price was, how many years, the kind of money that they were looking for. Other teams have started to pivot, going, I just don't know if Blake Snell is in our budget, and he may have to come down. And then Josh Hader, his goal, reportedly going into the offseason, he wanted to beat Edwin Diaz's contract and get, the record reliever deal over $100 million. And Ken Rosenthal reporting yesterday that doesn't think Josh Hader is going to get that, going to top $100 million. He's going to have to take less maybe than even Edwin Diaz got with the New York Mets. So there has been a bit of a softening of the market. The Ohtani, Yamamoto deals, absolutely huge. What the Dodgers did, some other pitchers got some money early, but now things have stalled a little bit.
May I blow your mind for a moment?
Blow it.
Okay. Our pals at Cespedes Family Barbecue put out a tweet yesterday. So last year, on January 18th of 2023, out of the Major League Baseball trade rumors, which is a great site, go to all the time, they had a top 50 free agent, okay? Last year on January 18th of 2023, there were 3 players remaining: Jurickson Profar, Andrew Chafin, and Michael Wacha. Okay,
not exactly the premium of the last 3 either.
Damn near could have been 48, 49, and 50, right? This year, on January 18th, 2024. Are you ready for this? Bellinger, Snell, Montgomery, Chapman, Hader, Soler, Martinez, Hoskins, Stevenson, Clevenger, Chapman, Lorenzen, Urshela, Rosario, Merrifield, Turner, Belt, Neris, Junis, Hendricks, and Tim Anderson, plus many others. This has been a morbidly slow offseason. It really has, with all the big moves that have been made. And there's been some big guys, big guys signed. We know all the stories. We know who signed them. But holy smokes, man, there are guys out there. I mean, that's how many names did I just rip off to you? 15, 20 at least of guys that are still looking for a squad. That gives me a little bit of hope, knowing there's still some pretty damn good players out there to pull from. I just don't know how active AJ and his squad are going to be with these guys.
Well, I don't know that it seems that way with some teams, but every team has a budget. Even the Dodgers, there's a limit to what they're going to spend.
Yeah.
And it may not be there yet, but every team has their budget, and a lot of teams went out and did sign some guys early, and I'm wondering whether they're looking and going, man, there's a lot of good players left, but we kind of spent what we're going to spend, and I don't know that we can sign a Bellinger or a Snell at this point. And when you have less teams now in the bidding, that affects and slows down some markets because agents, they don't want to look bad. The last thing an agent, especially someone like Scott Boras, wants to go to their client is go, hey, I know our target was, $200 million, but
I got you 110.
I got
That'd be like our agents, actually, with that in those conversations.
That looks pretty bad when you're the agent and you put something in the mind of your client and then have to then brace them for the reality that we're not getting anywhere near what we had planned on getting. And it's basically saying, I kind of steered you a little incorrectly in this process. No one wants to do that. So they're going to keep holding out and going, no, we just got to be patient. We'll get there. Trust me, we're going to get there. And if those offers don't come, there's going to be some reckoning. Maybe some unhappy clients and relationships at the end of this offseason if they truly do have to accept a lot less. Like, hey, I could have been in a team I wanted to be in at the same price 3 months ago. Now you're telling me I should take it with this club that I didn't even want to play for?
Yeah, and there's about at all the names I listed, there's one man that represents a decent chunk of them, and that's Scott Boras. And he does business his way, and it's worked very successfully for him. I don't think that there's any sort of collusion going on against Scott Boras right now. Maybe this is a Scott Boras. Maybe he's the architect of this whole thing by not settling. Maybe he said, you guys want to wait? We'll wait too. And we'll see who comes and who's really, really desperate, because there's some monster names on here. I mean, there's monster names that could really help every single team in baseball. So I just thought that was fascinating. Last year at that time, Benny, 3 guys left from the top 50, and now there's 20, 22, something like that. It's quite a sight.
So why potentially is there not as much money anymore to go around? When we come back, I listened to a terrific segment with Annie and Elston. I rewound it as I was driving back from the golf course. I had like a 25-minute drive. It's a perfect little chunk. And Annie, of course, who worked for Bally Sports San Diego, so kind of had some inside knowledge about how some of these things work, did a great job kind of explaining the TV deal versus what the Padres can get streaming and why there could be more of a financial crunch than we know about. I want to kind of talk about that and explain at least how I understood that segment, because I thought it was some really good radio yesterday. Get to that coming up. We'll play a game later. I've got one more 1984 Padres trivia game.
How's that been going, by the way?
We had a winner yesterday, I think.
Good. Okay. All right.
But, yeah, I think today's is a slam dunk. Someone's going to win and qualify for the trip to Vegas. So we'll get that as well. We're going to come back with more from Padres Fantasy Camp in Peoria, Arizona. It's Ben Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
powerful enough to keep fans across the country in the action on the
You kind of get the sense, we're going to go home, crash, take it easy for a while after being out here at Fantasy Camp. Next week, one of my favorite weeks on the sports calendar, Farmers Insurance Open Week at Torrey Pines. I've once again been invited to MC the awards ceremony.
They heard
on Saturday
about your moderation skill. And I didn't give you enough credit yesterday. when you went up to moderate the panel of the 84 team, and watching you up there, it was like watching an artist. And I'm not even blowing smoke. You were phenomenal. As good as you are here, I think he's missed his calling. Professional moderator.
I don't know that there is such a thing as professional moderator, but thank you.
You crushed it. Guys will start to ramble, they'll start to run off, and they'll start to go. You work with me every day. Your ability to bring them back in, introduce fresh topics. I wish you guys could have seen it.
I brought in some of my woods wrangling skills to the table for sure.
It was a damn work of art. So you were incredible at that. I just wanted to give you another shout out.
So let's see. We got doubleheader NFL football the next 2 days. We'll do our picks game, our miserable picks from last week. We can only improve, I think, on what we did a little bit later.
Yeah.
Aztecs play tomorrow morning. Boise State, another CBS nationally televised game on the road.
How's Boise State this year?
They're good. They're one of the top teams in the Mountain West. And
another battle, man.
Yeah, another tough one. And this one in particular, and Mark Seidler wrote about it in the UT. So Boise State played at home on Tuesday. The Aztecs played at home on Wednesday, which means Boise State has no travel. They have an extra day to prepare. San Diego State had one light practice yesterday. They will practice this morning, then get on a plane.
Yeah.
And then usually you've got the morning shoot around where you can go through like drill. Okay, let's go back through the offense one more time, the defense against. No, you got to play at 10 a.m. San Diego time, I think, 11 a.m. in Boise, and you're on the court already. So the Aztecs are going to have to basically, show how advanced they are as a team with a lot less preparation. They're behind the 8 ball for another one of these road games again, essentially.
I wonder if Dutch could do what many NFL teams do. It's always one of my favorite stories to hear when an NFL team would travel somewhere and they would have the entire conference room, a giant ballroom, and they're running plays in there. I just think that is the funniest thing ever. Guys down there in bare feet, running plays in a conference
probably
room.
Friday night in the hotel. There will be some going over of things, before everyone goes to bed, because they had a very condensed time. Now, the Aztecs are good at it. NCAA tournament is like that. You play on Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday, and you only have 1 day to get ready for a really good opponent if you win your first game. So it's something Dutch and his staff have done well. They're going to have to try to bring that to the table at a place where they have not. The Extra Mile Arena in Boise has not been a place where they've had a lot of success. So try to steal one of those road games, as we talked about in the conference tomorrow. All right, we're going to check traffic. I want to talk about this segment that Annie and Elston did yesterday, talking about the Padres' streaming rights and whether that is contributing to a financial pinch in the organization. We'll get to that coming up here on 97.3 The Fan. So I love consuming, because you can watch our whole show on YouTube or you can listen on the radio, but you can always go back and find segments that you missed. And you can do that with the Annie and Elston program. And yesterday, Adam posted a segment that they did talking about, I think it was the hard truth about the Padres TV rights and streaming deals. And Annie, with her experience, having worked for the Padres telecast for many years, kind of explained her understanding. And she's not privy to necessarily to the highest level financial conversations that are going on. But when you switch from a regional sports network model where the Padres were getting paid, what was it, $60 million a year, just a check from Bally. And then, Bally would put the games on and they'd sell their advertising and do everything they can to try to make up that money. And you go to a self-streaming model with subscriptions, and you're trying to make money directly from subscribers at $20 a month and sell your own advertising packages.
It would be essentially like us walking away from Odyssey in 3 years and trying to just do what we do and live the way we live now off of YouTube, essentially. Right?
Pretty much, yeah.
And just hoping that people will subscribe and continue to subscribe to get our product every day. That is not something for me that I would be comfortable with. I like the security of being under the Odyssey blanket. I like having insurance that I don't have to go out and seek. I don't want to go down and sell my own advertising. And I know you don't either. And that is that it's a different animal entirely that they're up against.
And last year, the Padres knew it could happen,
right.
but they weren't necessarily ramped up 100% with a media advertising sales staff and everything that would be in place. But one of the points that Annie made that I thought was really savvy was, don't forget that in addition to not getting that $60 million that they were getting from Bally Sports, yeah, they're still getting some money from streaming. But Craig did some math. So let's say you have 20,000 streamers per month. We're paying the $20 a month. You know what that is for our entire season? That's $6 million.
Okay, that's
$6 million. What's that?
Not a lot.
One reserve player, essentially. That's a tenth of what you had been getting from Bally Sports. Now, you can augment that with some advertising. Some people pointed out, yeah, and they're also, on DirecTV and Fubo and some other outlets. I don't know that they had arranged any financial deals. Last year, at least in particular, I think they just said, hey, can you just put these on for our fans to make sure that they can see it? If you, like when I would turn it on DirecTV, whatever it was, channel 604 or whatever they were on, I don't know that the Padres were getting $1.
Not a nickel,
from DirecTV or from Spectrum or from Cox last year when it came to that. Now, will it be different this year? Is there certainly value in that? And the Padres should be pursuing, ways to make up some of the revenue that way. But it doesn't just automatically come. But the savvy point that Annie made is that you're also now taking on all the production costs. It is not cheap to broadcast Major League Baseball games.
No.
It's not just, there's Don and Mud, and you got to pay their exorbitant salaries. No, there's producers, there's trucks that you have to rent, trucks and cameras and camera operators and graphics guys.
Sure.
And then you got to do it on the road for 81 games a year. So travel costs, hiring crews on the road, even if you're not traveling with everybody, renting production trucks on the road. There's a lot of added expense. When they were getting $60 million from Bally, you know what their expense was for that? Zero. The regional sports network, they take on the costs of having to produce all of the telecasts. So it's not just the money that you're not getting from your TV deal. It's also money you are now spending that is going the other direction in the red to have to put all this together. And it takes time to build up subscriber bases, and hopefully, it can go up this year. Let's say they double their subscriber base, which is fantastic. 12 million? They're still far short of what you were getting before, and kind of a drop in the bucket when you talk about payroll levels that are anywhere between 150 and $200 million. That's just a little bit that makes up for what you had lost in those regional sports network deals.
Saw a great tweet from Rich the other day on Twitter. It said this, of course, it was talking to his article in Sportico. It says Regional Sports Network Diamond Sports Group says it's agreed to a proposed restructuring that features an investment from Amazon. And we've talked a little bit about that this week. Rich says this. Well, this, of course, does not include a resolution for the Padres, who are still very much without TV revenue certainty for 2024. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are going to get $180 million from Sportsnet this year, even though half of LA can't watch the games. Same league, same division, good system. Tongue firmly planted in cheek there. Something's got to give. Something has to give. That money, the cash infusion that a team like the Dodgers, who probably doesn't need that sort of cash infusion, but it allows them to make a lot of the moves that they make. Now, they make a ton of revenue. We know that. Sell a ton of merch. But here's a free 180.
So I think the question a lot of people have, that I certainly will have, is, well, how does the system then work for Spectrum up there with the Dodgers?
Right.
How are they making it work? When they're paying all this money, how are they making it back? And I guess we're kind of seeing it didn't totally work for Bally. They were unable to keep it going on that model. But Craig made a really astute point as I was listening as well in this conversation. And he said that teams, and this is not just the Padres, but you're going to find this more and more going forward, they're all of a sudden going to be the victim of the fact that we now specifically know who's watching, especially when it comes to streaming. San Diego has there's 3 million plus people in San Diego County. I know a lot of them are Padres fans, but if I was a Bally, sports sales guy and I'm trying to sell advertising on a Padres telecast, I go to an advertiser. I go to Sedano Ford and I go, hey, let's put your TV ads on Padres games. We got 3 million people in the county, and they could all be watching. It gets hot. You got all these people you can reach. Well, when you're streaming, you can no longer say there's 3 million people in the county. You can say we had 18,472 people were watching this game. That's not nothing. That's good. That's a good reach for advertisers, but it's not 3 million.
Mm-mm.
And you know exactly how many people are watching every single game. That number all of a sudden doesn't sound quite as impressive anymore, and makes it a little harder to maybe go out and specifically find some advertisers for the broadcasts.
Yeah, it's definitely an uphill climb, and they're certainly up against it. And I do wonder how it is going to work. Man, but this is, Benny, even when Bally's was here and before the bankruptcy and all that, my man, remember, for the last 5 years, we would have Eric Krupner on the show, and every single year we would have to ask the question, where and how can people consume your product? This is not a Padres problem. This is a Major League Baseball problem, period. The end, the blackouts, everything else. Every year we would have, Eric, people were on YouTube TV. They subscribed to that. Now they can't. Padres aren't going to be carried there, but they will be on here. Every year we had to ask him, where can they consume your product? Do other sports have this issue? Is it as big of an issue as it is in Major League Baseball? And I understand the number of games affects that. I do.
We just saw an NFL game on Peacock, so there certainly are issues, but everyone knew where to find it. Yeah, and they knew it was coming for months and months.
Yeah, and I feel like it's the NFL. I feel like they're just doing bits at this point. They have so much money, and people consume their products so much that they can just do bits and be like, we'll just put you on Peacock.
And it's evolving. We're seeing teams like the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and I think even here in Phoenix, the Arizona Coyotes, going back to over the air and just telecast like in the old days, where if you have an antenna and you just pick up the signal, if you live in town, they're going back to a model like that in some sports as well. Yeah. So we're in a period of serious transition when it comes to media rights and how games are consumed in different ways in local markets.
Well, and it's not just transition. It's you could call it unrest. I mean, there's unrest, and I think as you plan a budget, your budget's certainly going to change without an influx of cash from an RSN. And I hope they figure it out. Again, you laugh at me because every year every month I'm paying an exorbitant amount for cable. I don't want to miss the games. I don't want to miss the games. I don't want to have to miss the games. I'm a creature of habit. I want to make sure.
You've got Cox.
I love Cox. Yeah.
I've got Spectrum.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There's been no announcement yet. Now, I'm assuming I'll be able to watch it.
I'm assuming the same.
Or I'll be able to stream it. But I don't think that we've heard any specific announcement as to exactly where and how Padres games in 2024, this year, in less than 2 months from tomorrow, the very first game in Korea, how those will be distributed to Padres fans in San Diego. They will be. I have no doubt about that. But the specifics, those details, what the Padres will be making on it, I haven't heard anything about that yet. Correct?
I haven't either. Yeah. And again, this will be the 6th year in a row we have that conversation a couple of days before opening day with Eric Krupner, I assume. It is just not – it's not as simple, I guess, as we all want it to be. Gas station D-Pill says MLB is indeed dying, has been for some time. NBA faces the same problems due to length of season and lack of consequence on losing a game. I beg to differ, though. The Major League Baseball is quite healthy, I think, as an organization. Now, do they always do what's in the best interest of their fans? No, they don't. And they're not great about getting their product out there. They need to be better at marketing their product and getting more eyeballs on their product. And I understand, like we've said this before 1,000 times, you're not going to lose me. Whatever it costs, it's like living in California. If gas is $12 a gallon, I'm paying it because I absolutely love living in San Diego. You got me. But I realize I'm probably the exception and not the rule. And I think with baseball, they need to start worrying about the exceptions and not just the rules. They need to start worrying about the casual fan, the young fan. You got to get them involved and continue to help grow this game. And that's where they don't do a great job at it.
Keep in mind, too, there's a difference between the health of the game and the entertainment quality of the game and how you monetize that with streaming and cable and viewing rights. There's definitely an issue right there when it comes to the media aspect of the game. If you go to a game at Petco Park, I mean, last few seasons, it's been phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. Legendary.
I mean, best we've ever seen in terms of quality, fan experience, enthusiasm of fans. You can't tell me, oh, yeah, baseball's dying. Go to a game at Petco Park and tell me, yeah, baseball is dying. No, it's not. They do have, though, a new media and evolving media issue, as do non-NFL sports.
Yeah, NFL's really
country.
they're
a different conversation. It's different when it comes to the NFL, but they're all trying to figure out how to make it work. And there's no guarantee at some point, salaries may have to stop or scale back. I mean, it'll be a tough, bitter pill to swallow for baseball and basketball players that maybe someday you may only make $10 million a season instead of $18 million a season for doing the same thing. Yeah, it happened in radio. The radio hosts don't necessarily make as much as they did 15 years ago. And it feels like, but athlete, those prices, those salaries will continue to skyrocket. But at some point, if owners are not making as much on the media side of it,
the bubble will burst.
And you can't continue to charge as more. You can charge more at some point for tickets, but at some point, fans will just go, that's too much. I can't pay. I can't go to games anymore. And at that point, that's when salaries will have to start coming down. And, it's been years since we've ever thought about the fact that could be possible.
Yeah.
It could be in our lifetime or in the next 10, 15 years. The athletes' salaries might have to come down at some point, too.
Tell them that.
Yeah. I don't want to know. I don't want to be the one who has to tell them, for sure. All right, let's come back. We got 2 hours left here at Fantasy Camp. Walk through the clubhouse here, see who's around. We'll come back, reset the show next year on The Fan.
All right, we are halfway home. Last day here at Padres Fantasy Camp. What an incredible week it's been. Getting to talk to all these guys has been really, really special. Getting to play ball has been a lot of fun. Body's holding up better than I thought it would. But, man, it's just it's a trip to be out here. Getting to sit yesterday and watch Flan and PV up there jam was so much fun. Sitting right next to Hoffy, and it's surreal. It's very, Forrest Gump type stuff every single time. I'm Woodsy. That's Ben Higgins. Paulie is out playing a game right now. But yeah, it's been great. It's been so nice having you here too. So now you get to see how excited we get, and you kind of get it.
So Paulie's playing a game in the actual Peoria Sports Complex Stadium.
Yep.
The Padres and Mariners share for their Cactus League games. You'll be out there a little bit later after the show.
Yep.
What's it like playing in a ballpark? I know you played in this one. You played in a couple of them before. Now, it's not like it's filled with fans.
Oh, there's a lot of players there watching from the other teams. There's families. People's families come in the last day. It's kind of cool. I have visions of coming out here and bringing Bo with me on the last day to be able to come out and hang out on the field and in the stadium. It's special.
But in terms of sight lines, when you're playing the infield, there's a pop-up. You see the background of seats and scoreboards and everything. It's different than just playing on a high school diamond or a backfield somewhere.
It's really special being in the big ass dugout. The big dugout. They call it fantasy camp for a reason. It is truly like living a fantasy if you love baseball. But really what it comes down to, man, is the friends that you make and the camaraderie. I had a moment yesterday before the show that was so sweet and sad. One of our campers here, Gary Lang, one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. First guy in the clubhouse every single day. He's in here working on himself, working on his body, trying to get right. His wife passed away last year, and we knew it. It was in the group thread, and I went up to him and I just said, "Man, I'm so sorry." And he came here, Ben, for the camaraderie of seeing his friends. And he said to me yesterday before we started our show, he goes, "My wife loved your show so much. She used to listen and watch every day. And thank you guys for being here." And I just gave him a big old hug, man. That's really what it's about, is meeting people from different walks of life, people that you wouldn't probably normally hang out with, but you look forward to seeing every single year. So Langer is one of the best guys that you'll ever meet out here. No one tries harder. No one works harder out here. That's what it's all about. It's not about the baseball per se. It's just about the people that you meet along the way, people that would be there for you if you needed it. So it's just really, really special. Our buddy we met from Australia, bro, I was asking this morning, Richo, I go, "Are you coming back next year?" He's like, "I don't think so." He goes, it's expensive, mate. It's a long way. And I said, "Please come back next year." It's like I've got a friend now that lives in Australia. If I ever go to Australia, I got a place to stay, and it's been 1 week of hanging out with him. So it is just a really cool thing.
So you're saying it's not about wins and losses. It's about the friends you make along the way. But you'd rather win than lose, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've not lost since I've been traded over. So it's been.
Do you know where you're playing in this final game?
I think I'm catching.
Catching again, behind the plate.
Yeah, I think I'm behind the.
You played some third base.
Yeah,
I've seen you out there at third.
I played third, short, second, first, left, pitch, catch. 7 out of 9.
When you're standing at third, you're out on field one, or you're out in the stadium. Is it hard not to think about I'm standing in the spot that Manny Machado stands
every time
when he's here?
And
right?
most importantly, when you go to the bathroom here in the clubhouse, you think to yourself, "This is where Manny goes number 2." In this one, at the end, the bigger one. And yesterday I had to use the Brett Sullivan, which is the first one, the very first one, the small one. And I thought, man, I want the Manny, but I'm here on the Brett Sullivan. And you think to yourself every time, like, this Manny goes pee right here at this urinal, right?
As weird as that sounds. And I know that they eat in that room, in that dining room. I've been down in their clubhouse, the training room, where they all walk around. When I walked into their bathroom and I used their facilities, I thought, this is where Fernando Tatis Jr. does his business.
This is where he does.
I don't know why that was the first thing I thought of, but wow.
Every year I go in there, and if the last stalls, that's Manny and probably Xander, for the veterans, and then the first ones are the younger guys, I'm sure. But I did have to use the Brett Sullivan yesterday.
So speaking of Manny, CBSSports.com, they came out with a list.
Is this
yesterday.
another list that
It's another
we're
list?
do?
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
Well, I'll skip right to number 6 on the list, which is Manny Machado. And the list is active players who are closing in on the Hall of Fame and what more they need to do to make sure they kind of cement their status. Of course, they'll announce the class of 2024 coming up next week. I think it's Tuesday that the writers' vote is revealed. Adrian Beltre, we talked about it this week, looks like a lock. As many as 4 or 5 other guys are kind of trending close to getting into the Hall of Fame. So what about the guys that are still playing now, and what more needs to be done? And here's what they wrote about Manny Machado. The bad news is Machado took a big step backward in 2023 from his MVP caliber 2022 season, in which he finished second in voting. The good news is it was still only his age 30 season. It was also his 12th in the majors. A 6-time All-Star, he has 2 Gold Gloves, including 1 Platinum, and 4 top 5 finishes in MVP voting. He's a 279, 339, 490 / 125 OPS plus hitter with 1,737 hits, 333 doubles, 313 home runs, 944 RBI, and 914 runs. So they say Machado should get a boost in WAR and JAWS, since he's an excellent defender, and more advanced metrics there. He sits 22nd in career WAR among all third basemen all time already. He's below an average Hall of Famer at this point, but again, these are counting stats. WAR is one that'll just continue to go up as you continue to play, so expect him to rise as he goes forward. So they say, barring a monster MVP season, that always helps when you've got an MVP to your name. Like Mookie Betts is number 1 on their list because he's already won 1 and he's put up big numbers, so he's very close to locking it up. Probably needs to work on the counting stats, they say, of Manny Machado. Getting north of 2,000 hits, 1,200 RBI, 1,200 runs probably does the trick, but the 400 homer mark would surely clear the bar. So, I mean, if Manny just continues on the track that he's on, 313 home runs, 3 Manny-like seasons should be at 400 by the time he's 33 years old. And at that point, you say, okay, he's almost a definite Hall of Famer with 3 more good seasons in him. And, of course, as a Padres fan, knowing he's signed for another decade, you would like to see, 7 or 8 more really good Manny Machado-type seasons, which would put him far beyond the threshold of the average Major League Baseball Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and I expect a big year from Manny Machado this year. I really do. I expect a big year from Manny Machado every year, and Manny expects a big year from Manny. I know he came on, got his 30 last year, and that ain't nothing. It's not nothing. It's not an easy thing to do to hit 30 in the show every single year, and he did end up getting that. But I know that there's a sour taste in his mouth as well from last year. I've heard it from guys out here. I expect big things from him, Benny, and I think the trajectory he's on, bro, come on. Like, when we're having this conversation in 15 years, my friend, you're not going to be able to convince me that there are better third basemen than Manny Machado. You just can't.
Yeah, Manny, just a 782 OPS last year, definitely wasn't his best season. I think the number that, for many of the Padres, and I know it's the one that statistical, sabermetric analytics guys look at the least, but is really the most important when it comes to winning games, is RBI. It's something you can't really control necessarily as a player. You need to have guys on in front of you. There's an element of luck to coming through at the right time. But the RBI totals, Manny had 91, which isn't terrible, but he's a 100-plus RBI type guy. Bogart's with 58, to me, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's a 100 RBI type player. And Tatis had 78. All 3 of those guys.
Way more.
On a normal season, just hitting like they normally do around their, 800 to 900 OPS, you've got guys on base. You've got guys who get on. It's weird that they didn't drive in more runs last year. It was that whole runners in scoring position, lack of clutch that the Padres had last season. That's the kind of thing you do expect to kind of even out a little bit this year. And if that's the case, all 3 of those guys return to their normal 100 RBI levels. That's a lot more runs for the San Diego Padres over the course of the season. That turns losses into wins.
Let's tell the story quickly. The panel that you were moderating the other night about the 84 Padres and Dick Williams, and the mantra that Dick Williams preached to all of his players from spring training on.
You
And
stink.
that was one of them. Yeah, that was one of them. But the mantra, and I'm telling you, when we hear Mike Schilt talk, Ben, I expect some baseball like this year. This is what I expect. Flan was talking about how Dick Williams used to preach. Remember, you get a guy on, you shoot the hole. Now you get first and third in the first inning. Then your big boppers are coming up, and you're on the board. He said that was the key to our success. And he said it was the same thing with the Giants. Get the guy on, ground ball through the right side, find the hole. Now you have first and third. He goes, the whole way that baseball should be played, and it's been played for 100+ years, get that guy to third base with less than 2 outs, right? It's easier said than done, certainly, but it's a mindset that I think has gone away from the game a little bit. Now, that's not small ball per se. It's not get a guy on, bunt him over, give away an out. No, it is let's train ourselves. Let's have the mentality, first and third, nobody out every single inning, especially in the first. Let's get on the board early. Mike Schilt is probably going to be preaching something similar to this team. I think we've got the personnel to do it. I do. It's going to be interesting to see if they can.
And I think that's always a good philosophy. Getting runners over, getting them on the board. Even an analytics guy will say, yeah, if you're scoring runs, that's always a good thing to do. I think where the game has changed, though, and no offense to Flan, who knows way more than baseball than I'll ever know. The trend to try to get, would you agree that it's smart strategy? Get your best players up as often as possible.
Correct.
So they've pushed, when Flan was in the big leagues, your 1 and 2 hitters weren't necessarily your best hitters.
Correct.
They were good at getting on the table. They were good at going the other way, setting the table for your big boppers. But now you've got big boppers at 1, 2, and 3. And you don't necessarily want them thinking, choke up and go the other way. If Fernando Tatis is up and batting second, say, and Xander's on first, he just lined a single, you don't necessarily tell Fernando, hey, we want you to choke up a little bit, try to hit a grounder in the hole the right side. No, you want him to barrel one. You want him to mash the ball.
Yeah.
And the analytics will tell you when you have a great player like Tatis, don't ever do anything that's going to make him back away from the big things he's going to do, the 40 homers he's going to hit. And here he comes. He's going to be mad that I'm talking about this. But I do think it's different because when Flan was playing and they had guys at the top of the order who would move runners over and bat second, that was their great skill. But now the new analytics say you got to get your boppers up first, second, and third. And you don't necessarily tell the bopper, Tatis, choke up a little bit, go the other way with it when you're batting second. You tell him, no, hit the hell out of the ball and hit it as hard as you can.
But the mentality of first and third,
it's still good. It's still right.
Great.
Of course it is. It's still correct. It's just you have different players in those positions leading off that aren't necessarily suited to do it anymore.
Get over here. Get over here. This is our buddy Flan again.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah. I love this.
But what I think you have to be able to do, and the Padres did not do it last year, is when you get to that time late in the game when you need a run to win a game, you have to be able to do that. And the only way you can do that is consistently talk about it and work on it. Because when you get to those playoff games and you get to those World Series games when you're facing the San Francisco Giants pitchers back with Bum and Kane and Lincecum, it was 2-1. It was 3-2, and you have to prepare for that. It's great to get that 3-run home run. And early in the game, if somebody would bunt, Boch would go crazy. I'm not putting the bunt sign on. These guys, the team got together and said, we want to bunt and play it with a 1-run lead and play ahead. But he's playing for crooked numbers early.
I think the bottom line for me, Goose Gossage's nerd over here, I, of course, would rather see those players get up. Yeah, I know. Thanks, Goose. I would rather see those good players get up more often. That makes sense to me. If they can get up 5 times and your 8 hitters, get up 4 times, that makes sense. But remember, it's only the first inning in which it really matters at all. Because after that, every inning's its own. There's no pitcher making the last out in the 9th. I mean, you could have the number 6 hitter could get up to lead off an inning 3 times in a game. You have to be able to do that throughout the lineup now, Flan. If your 6 guy gets on, your 7 guy needs to be able to go the other way, move him over.
Selfishly, as a third base coach, it would be a lot easier to not have to worry about the 7th, 8th hitter because the 9th hitter's coming up and they're going to walk people to get to them. That was when you're the most aggressive. Now you can play because they're all professional hitters. You can just stop them. You don't need to jam people in. You can as Joey Amalfitano, the great third base coach who taught me how to coach. He says, hit them on the back of when they get to third base and they don't know what to do, hit them on the back and say, you're making $3 million. I'm making 150,000. You make the decision.
I got to tell you when to go. You should know when to
Absolutely.
go. And that's when you watch baseball these days, Flan, the playoffs, as you said, that's a different animal entirely.
Totally different.
If you haven't been at least having the mindset of doing it throughout the regular season, you can't just flip the switch. We see it, the Dodgers, every year in the playoffs. It's like they forget how to play the Dodger baseball that got them to the playoffs. When you watch them in the playoffs, what's missing from that?
Usually the big hit. And so you've got to be able to find a way to scratch that thing out, but also the experience of doing it. And Boch should be the first to tell you, something happened to him in New York in 1998. I'll never forget that. He was kind of talked out of using. He went against his gut and got. That's when the Yankees exploded, and he was up the tunnel, white as a ghost, and called me up. And he goes, "I can't believe it. I went against my gut. I got talked out of doing something I was going to do. If I ever get another chance, I'm going to do it the way I believe, with my feel of the gut." Sometimes you got to go to the World Series like we did in San Diego twice and get beat in order to understand what it takes to win the World Series. Now, speed forward, I remember with our last time, 2014, up in San Francisco, we just traded for Michael Morse, and now we're going into a tiebreaker, a wild card, one game. And guys are, Morris is going, Buster looked at him and said, "Michael, you just relax. We know how to do this."
That's awesome.
And they know how to breathe in the, and I worked with Brian Kinney and all the MLB Network guys. And I tried to say this to them. I go, there's something that's physical. You have to, the game speeds up. You can't breathe. I vomit. And he goes, "Oh, no, Jim, come on. That's not tangible. That can't be quantified." I go, "I threw up."
I vomited. You can see my vomit right here. This is tangible vomit right here.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man.
The vomit above average. Well, Tim, I'm sorry I missed the concert yesterday. I didn't make it back from golf in time, but I do have to tell you, I got back. I found this guy under his covers, hair wild, 5:30. He forgot to eat dinner. I think he just had 3 Rice Krispie treats. What did you do to him?
I didn't do anything. A friend of mine gave me these little Girl Scout cookies. A friend of mine gave me these Girl Scout cookies. I think he ate the wrong cookie.
I see. You're not supposed to have 10 of them, Woods.
Hey, and you need to start training at a higher altitude.
You're not kidding, man. You're not kidding. I don't think I could have been in a higher altitude.
Thank you for checking in again. We
Thanks,
appreciate
everybody.
it.
You're the man.
All right, when we come back, I've got our next 1984 Padres Trivia Challenge, chance to qualify for a trip to Las Vegas. So if you want to get online during the break, call into Frank back in our studios, 833-288-0973. We're going to play 1984 Padres Who Am I? Is the game today. 1984 Padres Who Am I? So call to qualify. Get on the air next, 833-288-0973. Ben and Woods back after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. I've had fun this week with our 1984 Padres trivia. We got one more game here, one more chance to qualify Tier 1 for a trip to Las Vegas. And we've got turn down your computer there, Woodsy. We got Jeremy. I'm not turning your mic on until you turn your computer down. Okay. You earn the privilege of a microphone over here. We don't have Paulie controlling the buttons right now since he's out playing his game. We got Jeremy and Vista on the line to play our game today. Hello, Jeremy. How are you?
Good. How you boys doing?
Doing great, man.
We're good. Okay, so if you can get 4 out of 7 right in today's game, you'll qualify for our grand prize drawing. 2-night stay at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Tickets to Tom Kiefer and LA Guns on April 11th at the International Theater at the Westgate. And you can even get some help from Woods here. Now, I'm limiting you to one phone-a-friend because I think Woods could just crush this category. But, Jeremy, today's game is called 1984 Padres. Who am I? So for today's game, you'll try to identify 4 out of the 7 of the possible 1984 Padres based on the clues that I give you. Okay? Are you ready to play, Jeremy?
Let's do it.
All right, round 1. Tommy Lasorda said I couldn't hit water if I fell out of a boat, but I proved him wrong by hitting 2 of the Padres' 3 home runs in the 1984 World Series. Who am I?
Vacqua.
Kurt Vacqua. Correct. Just as easy as that.
I'll send a limousine to pick up the Vacqua.
This one should be just as easy for you, Jeremy. Number 2. My wheeling and dealing as general manager helped build the 1984 Padres when I signed Goose Gossage to a free agent deal in January and traded for Greg Nettles 3 days before the start of the season. Who am I, Jeremy?
Jeez, Dick Williams?
No, he was the manager. Jack McKeon,
Trader Jack
was the general manager. All right, that's you got 1. That's all right. You just need 3 more to win. All right, this one could be a little tougher. Number 3, and you can ask Woods. Before playing my first Major League Baseball game at the age of 28, I served in the U.S. Army in the Vietnam War, earning a Purple Heart. I was a journeyman outfielder and first baseman for several years before landing on the 1984 Padres after being traded from the Giants. I struck out in my only World Series at-bat, which turned out to be the final plate appearances of my career. My given name is John, but nobody calls me that. Who am I? Woods is looking kind of without a clue on this one as well. You got any idea, Jeremy?
Oh, boy, I do not.
That one is Champ Summers.
Champ Summers. Oh, if you had said one of the more instrumental players in the brawl, I would have said, Champ Summers. I didn't know he played first base.
All right, I think Woodsy might know this one. Let's see, Jeremy, number 4. To this day, I'm the only pitcher to record a win for the San Diego Padres in a World Series game. I was born in Waco, a fact no one ever forgot after Dick Williams insulted me by calling me the world's only timid Texan. Who am I?
I'm going to phone the friend on this one.
Okay.
Ed Whitson seems like Ed Whitson, I thought was a Southern guy.
He was a Southern guy.
Andy Hawkins was a Texan.
Wood says Andy Hawkins.
Yeah, Andy Hawkins.
He's going to go Andy Hawkins. Good call, both of you.
Wow.
Andy Hawkins, the timid Texan. That's 2 correct.
I could be a timid Texan. I'm pretty timid.
All right, I've got a little side clue for you on this one. Number 5, Jeremy. In 1983, I hit a home run in my first major league at-bat playing for the Cubs. But I was traded to the Padres in 1984. I struck out 9 times in the World Series, which was a record at that time, and share a first name with a 10-time NBA All-Star who played much of his career with the Nuggets and the Knicks. Who am I?
What in the world?
If you want to ask Woods again, I will allow more phone of friends now. I want you to win this game.
I don't know that I know.
Basketball clues not helping you, Woods. Jeremy, any idea on this one? I'll give you. He was an outfielder, one of the starting outfielders for the Padres.
Again. Any help from Woods will be good.
Woods doesn't know this one.
I have no idea.
No, you both give up?
Yeah.
The answer? Carmelo Martinez. And, of course, Carmelo Anthony. All right.
Yeah.
All right. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. All right. This one should be an easy one for Woods because he's here. I pitched 7 seasons in the big leagues, but was also pretty dangerous with the bat, hitting 3 of my 8 career home runs for the 1984 Padres. Who am I?
I got this one. That's Tim Lawler. Tim Lawler. Yeah, it's Tim Lawler.
Tim Lawler is correct.
He
is correct. All right, so it comes down to the last one here. For all the marbles, the qualifying for the trip to Las Vegas. This is a tough one. I stole 110 career bases in 502 games, spending the 1984 season as utility outfielder for the Padres. I also share a name with a famous rapper who has been arrested more than a dozen times. Who am I? Either of you.
Oh.
Can anyone know? Does anyone know this one? He was a starter for the Padres before 1984. He came off the bench in 1984. Who am I?
God dang it.
We got clueless looks around the building right now.
Eddie?
It's not Bibb. Anyone? Come on.
Tupac Shakur.
Was he right? He wasn't arrested that often. He was married to Whitney Houston.
Oh, Bobby Brown.
Jeremy.
Bobby Brown.
Yes,
Bobby Brown.
Thank
you. We got a winner.
Let's put him into the drawing for Las Vegas. It was like pulling teeth on that one.
That was the most torturous game of all time. I was so nervous.
Oh, man. All right.
Crushed it.
All right, we can go back to Take on Woods next week, and I don't have to come up with any more 1984 Padres trivia games. Jeremy, hang on the line. Frank will get your information back in the studio, and we'll get you into the drawing for Las Vegas. Good job, guys. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back. I think there might still be some more people kicking around. Who knows who's going to stop by here in the building. I want to get to our NFL picks coming up as well because we did it last week.
Did you get Paulie's?
Get on record. I got Paulie's before he went out, so I have those as well. So we'll get to those coming up. With Bennett Woods, live from Padres Fantasy Camp in Peoria on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Well, if that 30-second clip of Boomer Esiason just wasn't enough for you, it is Friday, which means tonight at 7 o'clock you get kickoff with Boomer Esiason and Mike Valenti right here on 97.3 The Fan. Like us, they will give you their NFL picks. What do they know? Look at all the preview, all the NFL games, the divisional round of the playoffs, all the stories packed into 1 hour. It's presented nationally by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos, brought to you by those who drink it, and by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. My TV cohort, Steve Smith, texted in. Bobby Brown was built like a linebacker. One of the knocks on him was he lifted too much, and it affected his swing.
Oh, same with me.
Too much bodybuilding. No wonder you went 0 for 3.
Well, I went 4 for 4 yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
you didn't mention that.
No,
you
I didn't.
You zooted out when I saw you to give me a recap of your performance. So 4 for 4, huh?
Yeah.
That's a nice bounce back game.
No, sorry, 4 for 5.
4 for 5.
Yeah.
Still, so the
4
trip,
knocks, bunch
the
of
trip
RBIs.
to explicit did pay off for you.
Yeah, I knew it would.
It's a thing. Baseball players do believe in that sort of thing.
Yes, they do. And there were hits in there, and I found them and brought them out. Yeah, hit some really good barrels. Yesterday was a lot of fun.
Yesterday was pitching machine, or was it off of
machine pitch?
But you would also struggled against the machine too.
I had a couple knocks off one, but I did K off the machine earlier in the week, so it was good to help the team win. We absolutely smoked TK's team. That's who traded me, so I felt pretty good. But yeah, it felt right again.
You're in the third place game.
Yeah, we're playing for third.
Didn't quite make it into the championship duo at the top of the standings.
Yeah, there's been a little consternation about some of the rules that have really hurt my team. So listen, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. We're gonna continue to fight and battle, and nothing wrong with bronze, baby. That's what we say. That's what Archie always says. Nothing wrong with bronze. So that's what we're playing for today.
This isn't the Olympics.
Yeah, nothing wrong with bronze, baby. So that's what we're doing. But no, it was awesome, man. And again, against the team that traded you, Ben, coming out and having a monster day was very much needed by your boy yesterday. So I was happy. Paulie, by the way, Paulie swung the shillelagh like a madman too. Had a little trouble defensively, but that dude absolutely poked some. Look at this guy. All right, we got to do this. We haven't done this all week.
Right, yeah.
All right,
let's check traffic, and when we come back, we'll be joined by another special guest, and hopefully I'll be able to figure out how to get him on camera coming up here on 97.3 The Fan. Don't go away. All right, I think I got the cameras working.
Good job,
look,
Benny.
there's kind of sort of see Woods, half of Woods there, and most of me, and all of my my competition.
Yes, this is
Fox
wild
5.
right now. Turn his mic on. There
Television
I'm
anchor.
glad you're between us.
This is
Troy
Troy
this could
Hirsch
get
years
ugly. Yeah.
before this turns into an anchorman all-out war.
There's a tension here. I feel like Don King.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. But
Someone
for a
brought
battle,
a knife.
I'm like holding these guys back. They're nose to nose. You guys are competitors in the TV world. You work the same shift. You do the same job. How awkward is this? Right?
Not at all.
None.
It really is the softest competition on earth.
Sorry to disappoint you.
We come in at the very end of the show when literally no one really cares what we do at this point. It's a time filler at the end of the show.
I thought I had an important job. Now I hear Ben, and I'm like, I don't even know.
Well, maybe it's different where you work, but
hey, we have a
like-
15-minute sports show.
I feel like
every night.
That's true.
I'm the
You get
entertainment.
squeezed,
I've
yeah.
got 2 15-minute shows every week.
Oh, here we go. Here,
We have-
You have one every day.
we have one every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here we go.
You also have a staff.
All right, now who makes
that
more
helps
money?
you out.
Let's talk about that right now.
Well, I'm guessing Ben does because he works 2 jobs.
That
I only have
helps.
1 job.
That helps. Yeah.
We talked to Troy a lot this week. Had gotten the chance to sit down with you and have lunch with you too. And man, it's fun to see. And he didn't want you to know this, but he admires you very much because what you do at night and then you come in and do it in the morning It's bananas.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I get off this shift about the same time you do, and I go home. I go to bed. I sleep till 8 in the morning. I mean, I listen to you guys when I get up. If I'm going like water skiing or dirt biking or riding early in the morning, I turn you guys on. But that's like at 7.
Ben, who do you listen to when you go dirt biking?
Water skiing. Let's go out for my daily runs. Troy is just in impossibly good shape. It's really disgusting, actually.
It is.
How well built he is, and I think you might even be a couple years older than me. So you look great.
How old are you?
I turned 52 Wednesday, 2 days ago.
I'm embarrassed.
He just celebrated a birthday. Happy birthday. I mean, he's in twice the shape either of us.
Yeah.
You're actually in too good a shape for fantasy camp.
Yeah.
They're not going to invite you back. You don't look like the rest of the fantasy campers.
You know, it's funny. I thought I was in good shape too. And then game 1, I'm going around second base and I'm like, what's that? What's that in the back of my leg?
Baseball shape's different, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I guess so. With cleats on, you're running like that. And I didn't think so. I mean, I'd run and all that sort of thing. But it is funny. You know, this whole thing is such a great experience, but how much we realize how old we are.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, my quads, I can barely run and do this. And I think they play a trick on us, Woodsy, because we're playing on major league fields, practice fields. I think they've moved the bases further apart.
They're apart.
And the outfield is bigger than
mound's
what they
way further away.
It looks a long ways away. When the major leaguers do it, it looks easy.
It's crazy how long it looks.
Talking
to 60 feet 6 inches looks tiny when they're out there. And you're standing up there, and it's
tough,
like a
man.
mile away.
It's
from
tough.
The plate.
Talking to Troy Hirsch from Fox, and he's Ben's counterpart in the evening as well. Do you have a new appreciation for what the big leaguers go through on a daily basis? And the caveat is, we know they make a lot of money. We know they do. But do you have any new admiration for what they do on a daily basis?
I don't think there's any question. I think I have to preface this by saying I'm twice their age. So when you're that much younger, the body recovers. But one of the things that you really don't realize is how much you're up against the clock at all times. When you come in and there's meetings and there's this and there's that, you're like literally on the clock. We were doing a live hit for our show earlier this week, and they said, what do you do with your downtime? I said, there isn't any. We get here at 7 in the morning and we leave at 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So I do get a great appreciation for what they do and how hard what they do really is.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things they appreciate.
Troy and I were talking, and he said when we go in before a game, like to the clubhouse, and you're trying to talk to someone and they're kind of looking at the clock, and you think they're trying to get away from you because they just hate the media and they don't like you. But really, they probably have somewhere they need to be in 4 minutes, again, whether it's a hitter's meeting or stretching or a cage or a training session. They're constantly on the clock as they get ready for these games.
And Heath Bell said so much to me. He said, one of the things I love about this is we get to interact with the fans, because when we're at the ballpark, we're working.
That's work.
And, so we can say hi a little bit and maybe sign here and there, but they're actually working. Think about when we go to work, if somebody was coming up to us and asking us for autographs, we might be a little bit, short with them from time to time as well. And then he said the other thing was, I hope you get an appreciation for how we have to go about our daily job, because this is pretty close to it. I mean, they're putting us through exactly the same. Now we're not running as fast and the games are a little bit less
intense. Yeah.
Right. The stakes are much lower, but still a great experience.
What's wild? I mean, I've been playing baseball my entire life, and you get out on the field and Flan hits you a fungo, and you pick it, no problem. You make the throw, no problem. You do it 100 times, and it's no problem. Game starts, somebody rolls one over, you boot it, then you airmail it, because I understand, again, they're elite athletes, we're not. But I have been playing this game my entire life, and I'm so nervous when I get a ball hit my way, don't bobble the throw. It gives you such better perspective when you get in the box, and this guy's throwing 45 miles an hour, and he's got one pitch, and you're still like, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. It blows your mind to think.
Is it the competition, or is it the fact that like Trevor or
that's
Jake
a big part of it?
Randy's about to light you up if you make a mistake?
You don't want to embarrass yourself, certainly. But it is. I mean, I played against Troy the other day. I was catching behind him, and Troy's got a pretty good swing, and it's just been fun to watch you. And you've already lasted longer than John Howard did last year. You lasted way longer than he would have lasted. I mean, it is. But I mean, on the golf course, he's a different beast.
That's right. That's why he's here in Phoenix. He's like, oh, come play golf in the afternoon while Woodsy goes out and beats himself up. Sounds great.
He loves it, man. But no, it's been fun having you here, and your crew's been great too. So
yeah, and I think if anybody's thinking about doing it, it's one of these things where you will never look back, and it's not cheap. you know,
Right, yeah.
but you will never look back, in my opinion, and say, I wish I had that money back.
Right.
Because this is such a tremendous experience. And I think they did a hand raise, like how many people first time? And of the 70 of us, probably 20 raised our hands. So there are that many people coming back. They had a waiting list last year, and I'm sure they will have again this year. So it's pretty cool. And just we get jaded because we go in the Major League clubhouse all the time. But to see everybody's faces when they come in, they're like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, it really is.
I try not to go down there so much so that I don't get jaded, you know, and I don't have to go in every day. I don't need sound clips and things like that every day.
It's also really awkward when
it is. And
down,
I don't like to bother them. Like you said, they're working.
They're working.
But the 3 times a year that I do go in there, I still go, oh my God. I mean, I want to never lose that thing. And this certainly helps. It's fun, man. Who for you, who have you talked to this week that said something maybe prolific to you, or a story that you've heard from one of the coaches?
You know, one of the things that campers are like, it's me. So there's a couple things. One is we have a camper who is a world champion shot putter in Paralympics.
Josh.
Yeah. And so I had a chance to talk to him yesterday a little bit, and he was great. Some of the best conversations are outside of here at, various watering holes around town. And Jake Peavy and I were up till past our bedtime the other night. And he was just talking about, he was drafted at 17, left home at 17, came here. And for 2 months out of every year for 10 years or more when he played for the Padres, this was his home.
Yeah.
So he was telling us about how these places around here, this was this, and this was a turnip field, and this was that way back when. And so just hearing about that, and here we have, and I told him this, I said, you're a Cy Young Award winner, and you're out shagging balls for us and putting balls in a bucket for us.
Yep.
And he goes, I'm a rookie here too. That's just part of the deal. That's part of baseball.
Yeah. Jake's amazing.
He's amazing.
A Cy Young Award winner. He's also a musician, heck of a broadcaster. He's doing great on MLB Network. I mean, just too talented.
Yeah. So
sickening.
Yeah, it really is. And then Andy Ashby, you don't realize what a funny guy he is and what a great guy he is. And I think talking to him last night, he gave me a hug as I left last night, and he was like, "Dude, I'm so glad you're here." And just hearing that, whether he means it or not, I think he does because he's pretty sincere. But that's pretty.
Were you here when Andy was pitching for the Padres?
In a second go around.
Yeah, he was terrifying. When you're a member of the media,
that's
and
crazy.
He's playing, he was terrifying.
Is that
Ben
right?
said he's one of the scariest guys ever.
Yeah, when back in the early days, he was one that I was kind of hesitant to go up to, just because of that intensity. There's a few guys you get bites, but you kind of gingerly approach some guys. Other guys you can walk right up to, have a conversation with. It's easy, and there's others where it's
hard
like,
to believe.
Yeah,
but when you see him out here,
I know.
So approachable now, and everybody talks up to him and talks to him, and hearing Dave Dravecky's story about when he lost his arm. I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff too. To hear his stories, and I think that's one of the things that again we take for granted because we talk to these guys all the time during interviews. But for the Padres fans who are here that actually can talk to them and ask them those stories, I think that's remarkable as well.
It's been awesome having you here and getting to know you a little bit better. Thanks so much, Troy.
Thank you, guys.
Troy, here we're friends, but of course, when we cross back into San Diego County,
it's
back to bitter enemies.
Yeah,
we see each other.
Yeah, don't try to get into my interview when we're in the Padres clubhouse during the regular season.
You do see, though, like, there's so many radio guys that hate each other. That just hate. TV guys are all kind of buddy-buddy. It's actually kind of sickening, actually. It's actually kind of gross how friendly you guys all are. Troy's way too friendly. And Ben's way too friendly.
We're all really friendly.
I was just saying, how could you ever be mad at Ben?
I know.
Right?
I know.
I mean,
it's crazy.
If anything gets offered, he just kind of chuckles and smiles.
Yeah,
and
that's right. That's right. Radio guys, I think, are a little more insecure than TV guys. Yeah, I think that's probably it. That's it.
Troy, thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Troy Hirsch, Fox 5, one of the fantasy campers out here in Peoria, Arizona this week.
Now, if
are you playing against each other in this last
no,
game?
He's in the championship.
Oh, he's here
he's
early.
in the ship.
He's here early preparing for the afternoon championship game already. Look at that dedication.
Now, if your boss,
he could be water skiing right now
or dirt biking. I listened to you guys when I'm on my way to water skiing. Was that he was trying to humble brag that
Absolutely.
in?
Drop that in.
I listened to you guys. I'm on my way to a menage a trois, and you're my favorite show to listen to when I listen to you guys. When I'm out, you know how I do. It's incredible. And I just think he's been great. He's been a really good dude to have out at camp this year. They've done some cool stories too. So it's been fun. Now, if your boss gives you any grief about this, tell him it was my idea. All right, it was Woodsy's idea.
I don't think that they're going to mind. Like I said, we're out of town. It's fine.
Oh, fair enough. Good point.
Yeah, it's not San Diego where the true rivalry exists.
Yeah, for sure.
It's weird. TV, though, I mean, yeah, occasionally you'll have a great story, and that happens, and you're trying to get unique content. But on the day-to-day, we're basically covering the same stuff.
Same stuff.
And you're just putting our own spin on it. You know, it's not necessarily a cutthroat competition to see who's going to present the news. It's, for me, it's more about who can package it up and, you know, make it, you know, entertaining and, you know, be the sportscaster that people want to watch at night, because that's really what it's all about.
No, I mean, if I had my choice, you know who I'm watching. I would never stay up that late, ever.
No,
But you know, it would be you.
You can't even stay up for my early newscasts anymore.
No,
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
You're out at 5:30. You're the worst local television watcher of all time.
So true.
Got to thank our sponsor making this week possible, our live broadcast from Padres Fantasy Camp, brought to you by your San Diego County Toyota dealers. We make it easy. When we come back, final hour, if you missed our conversation with Dave Dravecky, I think we're going to bring that back. First, though, we got to get to our NFL picks for the division round of the playoffs.
And then I'm leaving.
Doubleheader.
I got to get ready.
Next couple of games. Woodsy's got a game. Paul may return, depending on how his game goes. I heard he was winning 9-1. So looking like fifth place is in the cards for Paul Reindl. We'll be back. More from Peoria, Arizona coming up next year. Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. Just had to rub some sort of liniment on Woods' lower back, which was a little bit lower than the lower back, if you take my meaning. But hopefully it gets him ready for the game here coming up, the third place game. Is that the same ingredients that was in Flan's cookie there? Was that some like CBD? What was I putting on?
Yeah, that was a little CBD roll-on.
Just a touch of THC?
No
Just
THC
okay.
in this one.
Just
in
checking.
this one.
Let's see. What do you got coming up? The Seals are still on the road right there in Albany. That's a big game for them tomorrow.
Huge
Albany's like
game.
Undefeated. The beasts of the East in the National Lacrosse League.
They are really, really good. And then we'll be back in February. I think February 4th is our next home game. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
so it's going to be. There's some really good teams in the NLL this year, man. It's going to be really tough.
Got the Aztecs at Boise tomorrow morning. That's nationally televised. Again, we talked a little bit about that earlier, the short prep time, the travel to get up there, just the challenge of trying to win games on the road of the Mountain West. And you got to steal a couple of these. The Aztecs have moved back into a tie for first place with Utah State, but, yeah, you don't want to just drop right back. They win. I imagine they go right back in the top 25. You had a lot of teams lose again this week in the top 25, so there should be room to move back up. But, they lose, they'll be punished again, even though it's a road game and they had less time to prepare and had to do the travel. So they have to figure out a way to beat Boise State tomorrow morning. And then we'll have your doubleheader here on 97.3 The Fan, all of your NFL football action on Westwood 1.
Woo.
Got the Texans and Ravens, followed by the Packers and 49ers. And then on Sunday, another doubleheader starting at noon. The Buccaneers and the Lions, followed by the Chiefs and the Bills, all right here on 97.3 The Fan, or you can just download the Odyssey app, search for 97.3 The Fan at kickoff. And with that in mind, let's get to our picks for the divisional round of the playoffs. Paulie even left his as well, and we'll start with the Saturday early game. The number one seed in the AFC, the Baltimore Ravens, hosting the Houston Texans, who certainly impressed in their first-round victory over the Cleveland Browns. The spread, Ravens by 9, coming off the added rest, the bye week. Woodsy, why don't you get us started? Do you like the Ravens with the points, or do you like getting the points with the Houston Texans?
I took, as I told you, I put a futures bet down on the Ravens a few weeks ago, plus 350 to win the Super Bowl. I'm going to go a little bit against the grain here. I'm going to take the Houston Texans and all those points.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to take those points. I really loved what I saw from Stroud and that whole team. They played with a lot of confidence. Baltimore's a really good team too, but maybe, listen, the old little bit of rust. I think they're going to win, I'll take those points.
Okay, so I may be swayed by recency bias.
Are you writing these down, by the way?
I will put them in a text message to our thread.
Okay.
Here. I got Paulie's already.
All right.
So I feel like I was just very impressed by C.J. Stroud and his performance, very composed as a young quarterback, and I think that they can go in and play well again. Now, do I think Baltimore's probably going to win the game? Yes.
Same.
Do I think Houston, if they pulled off the upset, would it be the upset of all time? No. Could it be a close game? Yes. Could it be like a touchdown type game? Yes. Could Baltimore be up by 14 in the fourth quarter, but Houston scores late to cover on the backdoor? Yes. To me, there's just so many ways Houston can cover the 9-point spread in this game that even though they're probably not as good as Baltimore, that's too many points. I'm going to take the Texans as well in that game.
Who did Paulie take?
Paulie took the Ravens.
Okay,
so he's going with Baltimore. He's given up the 9 points. All right, second game is also the bye game. It's the 49ers. They're even bigger favorites over the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love. 9.5 is the spread in that game. I will go Paulie first here. He's taking the Packers. He's going with the underdog at plus 9.5. I think the 49ers are on a mission. And Green Bay, as well as they played against Dallas, going on the road, to me, their season's already a success. And I sometimes worry about a team in the playoffs that knows, hey, if we get behind by 10 or so and it's not going well, it's okay. We're going back and we're building on this for next year, and we can take a good feeling out of this. It's not the most conducive for necessarily fighting for every point down the stretch. So I think the 49ers are going to cover this one, and they win pretty easily. Kind of a 2-touchdown type game. So give me San Francisco.
I'm going to agree with you here. Okay. I think, Brock Purdy has looked human at times this season. And I think Green Bay played so far over their heads. I loved what they did against Dallas. I thought it was incredible. but I think the Niners defense is going to be way too much for them. Way too much. I think this one's going to be not a blowout, but like you said, 2 touchdowns. I mean, kind of a blowout. I'll take the Niners as well.
I'd be shocked. I was shocked last week though when the Cowboys lost, so I would be shocked again. But it's not going to happen. They're not the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
I feel like this is the San Francisco 49ers need to make a statement in this one. So, all right. So we both have San Francisco, and Paulie is on the other side again.
Indeed.
With the Green Bay Packers. All right. On to Sunday, the early game at noon, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Detroit Lions. I'll go first on this one. Now, you have both been Dan Campbell giant fans.
Yeah.
I like Dan Campbell as well. To me, though, I look at the Bucs, and you can say that was just the Eagles, and they were playing really bad. They looked great. The Rams gave the Lions all they could handle in Detroit in the first round. I don't think the Rams are any better than the Bucs. I mean, to me, they're kind of similar. Got wide receiver weapons, just like the Rams did. They're going to be able to keep this game close. So when the spread is 7.5, it's over a touchdown. I just think that's way too much. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay, and I expect a similar game to the one that the Rams played last week. They could go either way. Maybe Detroit closes that out again with a nice, first down at the end by a point or 3 points or 6 points, but 7.5 is too much. Give me the Bucs in the early game on Sunday.
All right, I'll take the Lions then. I'm going to take the Lions and hope that Dan Campbell gets his defense locked in and doesn't give up those huge plays that they were. No, I mean, the Rams have Puka Nacua. Those guys can absolutely fly.
But the Bucs have good receivers too.
They do.
So feels like they could give them kind of similar trouble that the Rams did.
I'll take the Lions.
All right, and Paulie is also taking the Lions,
okay.
minus 7.5 in that game. Finally, and to me, and I'll go last again, we'll start with Woods. I think this is the easiest one. Bills 3-point favorites over the Kansas City Chiefs to wrap up the divisional round weekend of the NFL on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, much like I thought the Chiefs bet was going to be the easiest one last week, and it was. I'm going with the Bills. I think the Bills are going to dominate this game and win this game fairly easily. Josh Allen's playing like a man on a mission.
Paulie also has the Buffalo Bills.
You're going Chiefs.
No, I agree
with
the Bills. Both of you. To me, the Kansas City Chiefs, they took care of business at home against the Miami Dolphins. But we saw what the Chiefs are this year. And they're not the Chiefs. I mean, they're wearing the Chiefs uniforms, and I see Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. But honestly, none of their performances this season blew my hair away. Is that an expression? Blew my hair back. None of them blew my hair
me
back
away.
Or blew my hair back.
Blew my hair away is a fantastic.
I didn't think so either. But
so that's my man Riley.
To me, Buffalo is the hottest team possibly going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're at home. The Chiefs have not had to travel on the road. Patrick Mahomes for a playoff game. And
it's going to be snowy.
While I love this rivalry, and I would like to think that it's going to be a very exciting game, I really don't think it's going to be. I think the Bills are just better now. They're coming into their form at the right time, and I see this being more as like a 10-point type game than a 3-point type game. So give me the Buffalo Bills. I'll lay the 3, and we'll see. This would be a remarkable run if the Bills can keep it going because, they honestly could make it all the way to the Super Bowl here at this point.
No question about it. I'm excited. Give me the schedule again, would you please?
All right, so Saturday starts at 1:30 with the Texans and Ravens.
Okay.
And then that's followed by Packers and 49ers, so that's 5 o'clock. Sunday, it's noon, not 10 a.m., but noon on the West Coast. Bucs, Lions, and then 3:30, Chiefs, Bills in Buffalo. And all of the games right here on 97.3 The Fan.
Now, I have committed to taking both of my children on Saturday to Dave & Buster's, and they have been looking forward to it all week.
TVs at Dave & Buster's.
They do have TVs there, but you got to watch your kids. What's the optimum?
Just throw them in a pit with all those balls.
There's no balls at Dave & Buster's. It's just video games.
Chuck E. Cheese.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not Chuck E. Cheese. What's the what time should I go? 1:30 you said, and what was the other
Saturday,
one?
So this is tomorrow.
Saturday.
You're gonna be at Dave & Buster's
tomorrow. Jesus, oh my God.
You're gonna drive home today.
Yeah.
You're gonna be dying. 1:30. How early do they open? I would say like
go at open.
At open. Like for the first couple of hours, you can watch maybe some of the Aztecs game
Yeah,
out
out there at the corner of my eye in there.
Dave and Buster's, and then come back for the NFL playoff games later.
So pre-nap for them. That's probably a good idea. All right.
Otherwise, you're waiting until like halftime of the second game.
Yeah.
You don't want to go at prime time.
No,
you got to go right.
All right.
I mean, let's be honest. You go everywhere. When you become a parent,
you go at their schedule.
You go right at open. So many places that you never thought. I am knocking on the door, waiting for them to unlock this place so we can get in.
Yeah, get this thing in. Make sure they have a great time. Because I have missed them terribly, man. I've been gone a week.
Bo or Taylor the one who's been talking about going to Dave and Buster's?
Taylor, I told him I was going to take them, and then Taylor has told his class every day. Today's the day my dad's taking me to Dave and Buster's, and he doesn't get that it's tomorrow. But apparently they've been really excellent this week. I told them they had to be excellent for Hannah while I was gone. They have been. Hannah just texted me Bo's being honored at his school next week as an innovative thinker. I am so proud of him. And Taylor has been named he was the best lunchtime helper all week. So all these things they're thriving while I'm gone.
Do they give out fantasy camp awards like best lunchtime helper and most innovative thinker of the week as well here?
They do. But
what's your favorite Dave and Buster's game? I'm very analog. I like skee ball.
Skee ball's fun.
I like skee ball.
My buddy.
Mud, how are you?
Low, how are you, buddy? God, it's a sharp vest. I like that.
They're both vested.
They're both
fully vested.
God, they're
vested.
Oh, God.
So weren't they your managers when you went winless last year? Now they're playing for the championship without you?
It's wild. It's wild, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no coincidence, Mark says.
Totally. Good to see you guys are checked in this year. They were so checked out last year. Mud was showing up to the field late on their phones. I mean, it was an S show, to be sure.
Oh, what was your Dave and Buster's choice?
My favorite game, Bo and I like to play Jurassic Park. And it's really, really fun. You shoot the dinosaurs and stuff like that.
Shoot them?
Yeah.
Seems very un-PC for 2024.
Yeah, I mean,
they're already endangered. Well, they're actually extinct.
Correct. But you're at Jurassic Park, and everything goes wild, and you gotta save yourself. So we love that game. Skee ball is always a classic. Except Taylor will just throw it across 3 lanes. It's really,
you
really
go
funny.
for the ticket so you can cash in for prizes.
I have
that one where the lights just spin around. You try to stop it and win 100 tickets as opposed to 3 that you get when you stop it like a second too soon or late.
So they don't do tickets anymore.
It's just on a card.
It's on a card. Yeah. So they don't. When the tickets would come,
tickets are horrible. Remember tickets, and even when you won, it would just. You get this like rope
spool,
of tickets, a spool, and then you have to carry it around the entire time and count them.
The way they do it now is way better. But they haven't. The tickets are so tangible that little kids see the tickets and they want more tickets. On the card, they don't really make the connection of. They just look at that store over there and they think, oh, it's like 7-Eleven. Dad, I want that boom box. Yeah. Well, no, we're not getting the boom box.
There was always like the Nintendo
at the top
for 93,000 tickets.
You could buy a Nintendo for $80 or whatever.
I'm gonna get that one.
It's a huge,
and you end up getting like a rubber spider for 7 tickets.
A sticky hand that sticks to the wall. So they love to go play the games and stuff. It's something that they really enjoy. So I told them if they're good, we get to go, and they've been very good.
All right, are you out of here?
Yeah,
go.
I'm out of here.
Woods is going to go out to his
Love
game.
you guys.
Paulie may come back here. I have some updated news from the Farmers Insurance Open. A couple of big names that just committed at the last minute for the golf tournament next week at Torrey Pines. And then if you missed it from earlier, Dave Dravecky, an emotional, inspirational discussion about the former Padres pitcher. Of course, lost his arm, having it break mid-pitch when he was with the San Francisco Giants in 1989. We'll bring some of that story back for you. All coming up. First, a check of traffic here, and then more Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. Ben and Woods going up until 10 o'clock, and Annie and Elston here on 97.3 The Fan as we wrap things up at Padres Fantasy Camp 2024. In about 3 weeks, these halls will be filled with San Diego Padres pitchers and catchers who report on February 11th. A lot of them tend to get here a few days even before that. And then the full squad reporting a couple of days later, and spring training will be underway before you know it back here in Arizona. Mentioned some good news, at least for the organizers, at the Farmers Insurance Open. And, of course, next week we'll be talking about the golf tournament as it returns to Torrey Pines. But I got 2 big-name commitments. Yesterday, Justin Thomas added his name to the field for the Farmers Insurance Open. And finally, today, on the last day that you're able to commit to a tournament, Xander Schauffele, San Diego's own, finally put his name down for the Farmers Insurance Open. I don't know if it was a tough decision or not, but Schauffele looks like he's in pretty good form heading into Torrey. He shot an 8 under 64 yesterday in the first round of the American Express over in La Quinta, and is just 2 shots off the lead, held by Zach Johnson. Justin Thomas is 7 under, just another shot back. So both of those guys playing well this week, and figure that they will be factors next week at Torrey Pines. I'm glad, because I was a little bit worried knowing the new PGA Tour schedule with the elevated events, the signature events that, the big-time players have to play at, and Torrey Pines not being one of them. I fear that, more and more big-time players will drop it from their schedule knowing, hey, we got to add some of these other tournaments later in the year. I did hear some rumors, listening to some PGA Tour insiders, that the Farmers Insurance sponsorship deal could be nearing an end when that expires, and Torrey will be once again, Century Club will looking for a sponsor. That's always key to a successful event, having the stability of Farmers for now many years as the title sponsor. They had Buick before that, and then a couple of others going way back to the day. I remember when it was the Shearson Lehman brothers and the Shearson Lehman Hutton Andy Williams Open, the very long unwieldy titles for the tournament. But these only work when you have generally pretty good sponsors that help pay that big salary purse for the PGA Tour players who come by. So glad to see that Xander is going to be supporting his hometown tournament. Good to have Justin Thomas there. I think Tony Finau is going to be playing. There are definitely some big names that are in the event at Torrey Pines next week. Now, if there's a new world order in golf with the combination of the Saudi investment side and the Live Tour and turning into a world golf league of some sort, I have no idea what that's going to look like in the future, and whether Torrey Pines will be a part of it, whether the Farmers Insurance Open will have a spot, or whether it'll be kind of more of a qualifier to get into bigger tournaments, or if it's even going to exist at all. So for now, I'm just going to appreciate the fact that it should be a really good golf tournament next week. I have a good field, and hopefully the weather will be great at Torrey Pines. Always looks really good for San Diego to have the beautiful weather in January on television when everyone else in the country is feeling the effects of the snow and the frigid conditions. Makes San Diego look like a very appealing tourist destination. Frank Marchese is back in the studio. When was your first time in San Diego, Frank?
When I moved here when I was 13.
13 years old. So you hadn't visited before. Had you seen it before and wanted to come out to San Diego, and you just came straight? Your first time here was you moved here?
No, my dad moved here for work. My uncle was building some buildings down in Mexico, and my dad was building the furniture for it. So he moved us out here. The farthest west I had ever been before that was Vegas.
Were you glad, or were you sad to leave what you had known, or were you excited about moving to California and what you had heard, like the weather and everything that you were going to benefit from?
Well, of course it was exciting, 13 years old, getting to experience something new. But then after a while, you tend to miss home. That's why I had to go back for a couple of years. So.
Okay, but the weather's better here in San Diego.
It depends.
Don't tell me that you've seen any of these
so.
NFL games and you're not. Oh, come on. Yeah, the cold is not. I like cold too, but not the kind of cold we've been seeing in Kansas City and Buffalo the last couple of weeks. That's miserable, Frank. Even if you like the cold, that's miserable.
Minus 30 is miserable. I will give it that. Yes,
exactly. So, all right. Well, we will be back out here for Padres spring training at the end of February. We'll give you some of the more details. Obviously, Sammy spring training will be back. Sam Levitt's going to be here. probably longer than he wants to be, covering everything. At least I guess he'll get to leave a little bit early this year because of the Korea series, and everyone will be packing up their bags in the middle of March as opposed to the end of March. So that'll probably get him a week and a half or early off the hook for spring training, but he'll be out here covering it probably as soon as the pitchers and catchers report. So make sure you keep it to 97.3 The Fan for all of our coverage here in Arizona. Speaking of our fantasy camp coverage, we had Dave Dravecky came by. I've been looking forward to this all week. He was here in the very early stages of the program today. I wanted to bring back some of that interview, his story about the cancer in his arm, his comeback, and ultimately losing his left pitching arm, and what that did to him, and how he dealt with it and turned it into a positive. We'll get to all of that coming up next, but before Annie and Elston, right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. If you were with us earlier today, you heard that Woods got inducted into the Padres Fantasy Camp Hall of Fame. Even got a jacket presented to him, and Paul is 5-timers here at Peoria. But he's not the only San Diegan going into a hall. As we speak, congratulations to San Diego's own Jimmy Johnson, who's going into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Jimmy Johnson being inducted in ceremonies going on right now as they get ready for a new NASCAR season. And Jimmy, though, still riding, and he can't quite, he gave it up a couple of years ago, but then he got back into the car and has started doing more driving. Just can't get just wants to stay behind the wheel of the race car going forward. So another thing you caught if you were listening earlier, fantastic conversation with Dave Dravecky. If you missed that, we're going to bring it back for you right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
The roads are winding down pretty nicely all around the county. We're not showing any trouble spots, no incidents, no accidents, no surprises. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Our next guest made his debut for the Padres in 1982 after coming up in the minor leagues and played a critical role for the 1984 pennant-winning team, pitching both in the starting rotation, out of the bullpen. He is one of the coaches here at Fantasy Camp, and if you don't know his story, and you're not a longtime Padres baseball fan, it's certainly one of the more remarkable, sad, but ultimately, I think, inspirational stories in baseball. Dave Dravecky is with us. Dave, it's good to finally have you on here on 97.3 The Fan.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It's our pleasure. The first interaction I had with Dave was we were down around the bullpen, and they had asked some pitchers to, go and see what you had. So I was throwing a little bit, and I sat down after I was done and just started listening in on some stories. And it was Dave, and you were talking to Mud Grant, and you were talking about the trade.
Yeah.
When you got traded to the Giants from the Padres. Tell everybody what that was like that day when they called you in, and tell everybody who was with you and what happened.
Yeah, well, so we were in Montreal, and we had just finished a game in Montreal. We were all coming into the clubhouse and, getting ready to shower up and head back to the hotel. And all of a sudden, one of the clubbies comes up to us and says,
and it was you?
It was me, Kevin Mitchell, and Craig Lefferts. They said, hey, Larry Boa wants to see you immediately in his office. And we're like, oh, man, what the heck's going on? So we go into the office and we just stand there. And he goes, look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. We've traded you guys to the San Francisco Giants. And it was total silence in the room. So we walk out. Everybody goes to their locker, gets ready. We gather up all our gear. And the three of us are now heading back to the hotel. And Kevin looks at me and Lefty and says, I ain't going. I said, Boogie. We called him Boogie Bear.
Yeah.
He said, Boogie, you got to go. We've made this trade. You can't say no. You have to go. Well, then I'm done. He was so upset because San Diego's his home.
Yeah.
And he was with the Mets, and all of a sudden now he is, he's with the Padres and he's home. And that was such a big deal for him to be home. And it took Lefty and I, not only that night, but the next morning, making sure he was up and with us to get in the cab. And I got to tell you something, guys. It ain't very easy trying to convince Kevin Mitchell to get in a cab to go to Chicago with you to join another team.
Oh, man.
So as a young Padres fan, I remember being very sad about this trade because I love Dave from the 1984 team. I had become a big Kevin Mitchell fan as well. And as it turned out, they got Chris Brown. I was never as big of a fan of Chris Brown when he came. But it wasn't the worst trade on earth because the Padres did get a Cy Young Award winner. Mark Davis ended up winning the Cy Young. And a guy who stuck around for a while that came in that trade, Mark Mud Grant, came to the Padres via that trade as well. And we can't get rid of him now. He's here.
And hey, now let's not eliminate the fourth guy in that trade. Keith Comstock, another lefty. So lefties have to stay together.
That's exactly
Even though
right.
mine's gone, I'm still a lefty. Once a lefty, always a lefty.
And this is him.
It's more of a state of mind.
It's a state of mind.
It's a state of mind. Yes, it is.
This guy.
Although, I got to tell you, after being around these guys at the camp, my state of mind is actually like comatose compared to these guys. Holy smokes.
It's unbelievable. He tells us it's the first game, and he goes, we're sitting there, and he goes, man, I wish I had 2 arms, and I just fell over. I'm like, oh my God. So the story, and I know you shared some of it yesterday, and we've told our audience a little bit of the backstory.
Well, we tried to share it on Wednesday night and then we got interrupted, unfortunately, but he did finish the story yesterday for the campers.
And the thing that touched me the most about it was when the doctors came to you, Dave, and they said, your arm and your shoulder, they have to go.
Yeah.
Your state of mind at that point.
Yeah. It was really interesting because I knew what I was up against. I mean, reality hits. The doctors look at you and they tell you have cancer. And in that moment, what I didn't get a chance to share with the guys was that all of a sudden I kind of had a out-of-body experience. And now all of a sudden I'm thinking about not baseball, but I'm thinking about my wife. I'm thinking about my kids. And the first thing that came to my mind in that out-of-body experience was, oh my gosh, if I die from this disease, who's going to marry my wife?
Right.
And then the next question was, is that guy going to end up raising my children? And I thought, oh my gosh, this is not good. And then I thought, well, will he love them as much as I do?
Yeah.
My kids and wife as much as I do. But guys, here's the thought that came to my mind in that moment. Will he love them more? Because I know who I am. Because I shared that part of the story with you guys at the camp.
That's the one that touched me the most. Is when you told me. Well, tell them how it had been.
Yeah, it was hard. The depression, it was like being on a roller coaster, and towards the end of the journey before the amputation, I started getting really angry. And then after the amputation, it got worse and I became verbally abusive. And I'm really grateful for the grace that my wife had for me through that. She kept looking at me and she goes, you know what? I don't like you right now.
Yeah.
But she said, I know your heart and this is not you. And so she stuck with me through all of that, which I'm so grateful for. But here's what happened in that moment. I had 2 choices. I could either walk away from the game and focus on the health, or I could focus on the health. And if they give me the go ahead, try and come back. Well, I had no choice. I had to try and come back.
Sure.
How was that even possible? You said that you had no choice. They removed, you said, what percent of your muscle?
50% of the deltoid muscle. And the doctors told me I lost 95% use of that muscle.
So knowing how finely tuned you have to be a professional athlete, especially a pitcher, how was that even possible?
Yeah.
That you came back?
Larry Brown and Dick Dent. Dick Dent was the trainer. Larry Brown was the physical therapist at the Palo Alto Sports Clinic. And he is one of the top 2 guys that was invited to Australia, which is one of the leading countries in the world with physical therapy. And so I had those 2 guys take care of me. They figured out how to get all the other stuff in my shoulder to fire when there was no longer a deltoid muscle. So I got to tell you, man, that's why what I said yesterday to the guys, we really do need each other.
Yeah.
This was an effort by so many people to help me get back to the mound. And I'm so grateful for that.
Talking to Dave Dravecky here on Ben and Woods this morning, mental health is something that we've talked about a lot on our show. I suffer from depression. I go to a therapist. When you talked about bringing people in, tell that again, just how much we need people.
Yeah.
And how easy it is to shut yourself in a room and not talk to anybody.
Yeah. Isolation is the worst thing you can do because when you find yourself in darkness, you need some people to help bring you to the light. And in my process, it was recognizing now I can look back and I can say with all my heart emphatically that it actually works. You become vulnerable and you expose yourself to people you trust on the journey, especially when you're in those dark moments. And that's where you begin to understand where the help comes from. And from my perspective, God brought a boatload of people into my story to walk with me, to give me the strength to endure. It was those moments when I was, visiting Memphis, Tennessee at a speaking appearance. I had no business being there because I was depressed. And Atlee Hammaker shows up for 3 days and sits with me, doesn't say a word, just shows up. It's that kind of stuff. And so I told the campers, that's what you are to each other. You're a community and you need each other.
It's interesting when you say you had so many people on your journey and we were watching when you came back and your arm broke in the big leagues. How different do you think it might have been if your arm had broken warming up for one of your minor league starts before you got up? No one had seen it. We maybe would have read about it in the paper. A little bit different of a journey, maybe.
Oh, so different. That's why I look back on this, and I don't want to freak people out when I say this, but I believe the providence of God was at play. I believe that in my story, because of my faith journey with him and the people that he brought into that story, as I said to the campers, there's something bigger going on than baseball. Guys, I didn't get a chance to talk about what that really was, but when we got to the other side, I realized what it was. And that was, in this conversation, in the context of this conversation, it was about realizing it was no longer about what I was going to get out of life, but what I was going to give. And so my wife and I started a nonprofit called Endurance. And for your audience, anybody who's out there listening, if you're battling with cancer, if you're struggling with depression, go to endurance.org. We will send our story to you as an encouragement on your journey. Get connected with people that love you and care for you, and let them into your story. If you need help, get to a psychologist, get to a psychiatrist. They're there to help. And this is something that we don't need to hide anymore. We're struggling. We live in a world where we are driven to the point where we do things we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And the reason why we do is because we feel the pressure from the outside. It's okay to say no. One of the most important words I've learned through this process is don't be afraid to say no, because for every no that you say no to, there's a yes to somebody else. And it's usually somebody else that you're saying yes to. And that person is the most important person in that moment. And so reaching out and getting the help you need, understanding the value of community, the support that we get when we're vulnerable. When you're vulnerable, you invite people in and you can begin to journey, and they can walk with you to encourage you on the journey. They're not there to fix you. Anybody that tries to fix you, tell them to take a hike.
Yeah.
They're there to walk with you.
That's so powerful. So powerful. Dave Dravecky joins us here on Ben and Woods this morning. Very, very inspirational, very moving, and hits home. Hits home for a lot of people in our audience. Dave, let's switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
How much do you watch baseball these days? How involved are you in the game as it stands today?
Yeah, I love watching baseball. I've got my subscription to the MLB network, and I really enjoy watching the game. I work for the Giants as an ambassador.
Yep.
And so I need to stay connected to the game when I'm around the fans to be able to understand what the conversation's going to be like. And so, I'm engaged at a very healthy point to be able to actually enjoy not only the game itself, but to enjoy the fans. I never walked away from the game bitter or angry that something was taken away from me. I never thought I'd have the opportunity to play as a young kid from Youngstown, Ohio. How's he going to get to the big leagues? So the first day I put that uniform on, my dream came true. Every day after that was icing on the cake. So it was a privilege and an honor to wear the Padre uniform and to wear the Giants uniform, because I had so much respect for this game.
I'm curious. Obviously, it's been 40 years now since 1984 and 35 years since the end of your career. Probably a lot more people who don't know who Dave Dravecky is than do. When someone comes up to you, do they generally ask what happened? Is it awkward? Well, how does that work?
Well, let me put it this way, Ben. If they don't ask, I tell them.
Okay.
But when they do ask, I'm really grateful, because then I get to tell them.
Yeah.
I have no problem talking about my journey. I have no problem talking about being vulnerable and talking about the hard things, because I learned so much through it that has transformed my life that I wouldn't want it any other way.
And just by the way, people know there are other fantasy campers here participating in the camp who have artificial limbs or missing part of an arm. Then they're out here having a great time playing baseball like everybody else.
The guy Josh, the Paralympian, who's a gold medal winner, he's one of the tougher. I don't think I've ever gotten him out when I'm on the mound, and he's
a dude, man.
He hits with one arm.
Yeah,
and
he's amazing.
It's incredible to see And it puts, people that complain a lot like myself, it puts us in perspective.
We have to get up very early in the morning.
You don't really have to get up,
Dave.
I can
So
only
you should
imagine.
feel sorry for us because we have to get up very early in the morning.
It's been so fun getting to know you here. I was traded from your squad. Got our revenge yesterday.
I know you did.
It was fun.
You sure did.
It was fun.
You're probably chuckling under your breath every step
Now,
of the way.
say you don't think TK likes you, but you didn't have.
Dave and I
were
bonded.
good.
We're good.
Dave came up. He came up to me after I was traded, and he came down to my ear and he goes, "I loved your intensity. I loved your intensity." And I said, "Thank you,
Absolutely.
thank you."
Absolutely.
It has been such a pleasure to get to know you. Honored to know you. I was so excited when I heard you were coming because, again, that is a moment, the moment that we all saw, the moment that has changed your life entirely and has allowed you to help so many people. I'll never forget it. I mean, I was 14 years old when it happened, and I remember seeing it and going, "Oh, no, 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 no," and to be able to see you all these years later and to see the smile on your face and to see how kind you are to all the campers. It's just been amazing. You're an incredible man.
Thank you,
An
Woodsy.
incredible man.
I appreciate you saying that.
Now, you and Paul are going out for your game right now.
Right
This
now.
is the fifth place championship game. Go out, win that one, and then you can tell everybody we got fifth place.
Fifth is better than sixth.
I don't know how much
I mean,
ice ball he's got on him. I don't know how many suction cups he had on him.
He's been throwing good.
I don't know how many
he's wearing
rolfing
some sort of
experiences
device
he's
to
had.
try to warm
But he needs
himself
to
up.
get ready to go today because we need the gamer to kick it in gear.
He's got a bomb wrapped. Look, it's a bomb. That's an actual bomb wrapped around it. That's how bad he wants to win today.
I love it, man. We're going for it. We got to kick it in gear. We got to pick it up a notch.
That is amazing. Just a little message here in the chat from Doreen. Doreen says, "You're my favorite player of all time. I had the chance to meet you many years ago in San Diego during a real estate transaction with Ted Leitner, and we took a picture. Amazing."
Awesome.
The reviews are in on the chat. Everyone said this was their favorite interview of the week, Dave. The great Dave Dravecky.
Did you buy Ted Leitner's house or sell him a house?
No, I did not buy Ted Leitner's house. But I've had several walks with Ted Leitner and talks with Ted Leitner. I really like him. He's
we
a
all
good
love Uncle
dude.
Teddy.
I want to say one thing. The Padres fans were so gracious to us. I know we were up in San Francisco at the time when it happened, but many of the Padres fans connected with us and said that they were praying for us, and we're just so grateful for that. We love the community. We love the fans of that community, and we're just really grateful for the relationships we have.
I know there's a division rivalry, but I feel like guys like you and Flan and Boch, they really have two families now with the Giants and the Padres.
Yeah, no question. Yep, definitely two families.
And we all hate the Dodgers, so that's it. We're all kind of together.
We're all together
that's
on that
exactly
one.
right. We're all together.
Absolutely.
The great Dave Dravecky. Thank you so much. Go get your squad ready.
You got it,
and
man.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you.
And back out live, and if you're watching our YouTube stream, you saw that we got Paulie back in the last minute or so you can answer the question. 5th place or 6th place at Fantasy Camp?
5th place.
All right, congratulations.
We got the dub. Can't feel my shoulder.
How many did you pitch?
Through the first 2 innings. And just...
You were up early big, 9-1, but it came back to be a close game.
They had a big... How's it going, Jesse? Yeah, thanks. They had a really big final inning there. Got interesting. Had the craziest play to end the game, but we got the win. And then coolest thing I've seen in 5 years at Fantasy Camp, we were walking off the field, and I looked down the right field line, and the bullpens of the Peoria Sports Complex, the main stadium, Jake Peavy was throwing a bullpen, and he was humming it, and he was letting campers stand in the box, and he was throwing everything he had, and it was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen.
Hasn't forgotten how to do it at this point.
He would say, I'm going to hit the outside corner. Right in.
I think we've only got about a minute left here. I want to thank Tom Seidler, Bill Johnston, everyone with the Padres having us out. But why don't you've got so many other people here that have kind of made your experience and Woods' experience speak for Woods as well, and just thank some of the people that made this such a spectacular week.
Tom Seidler, Carly Meyer, Bill Johnston, as you just said, the training staff, Ricky, JoJo, AJ, Ben. Those are the professional major league staff. They give you the best treatment. Any ailments that you have, they will fix it and get you ready for game shape. Zach Nelson, he's one of the equipment guys here at the Peoria Sports Complex. He helps get our broadcast going and everything else in the clubhouse. The clubbies, they do our laundry twice a day. They get everything ready for us before the day starts. They are just incredible.
Kitchen staff, field staff,
everybody
it's
here.
amazing.
It's been a hell of a week, and I'm already looking forward to Fantasy Camp 2025.
And thanks to Adam Klug for letting us come out here this week.
Yes.
All right, Annie and Elston are coming up next. For Paul Reindl, for Stephen Woods, I'm Ben Higgins. It's been a great week. Thank you, Tier 1s as well. Talk to you Monday morning, 6 a.m. right here on 97.3 The Fan. Have a great weekend.